And we have that echoey thing that's going to pop up on me. I think we're live. I think we are. The world doesn't know it yet because YouTube, for some reason, how the fuck do they screw up? I mean, it's supposed to be the YouTube. Here we go. It's supposed to be the speed of light, right? How do they fuck up the speed of light?
Well, no, I mean, it's a 30-second delay. So
yeah, but why? Why? Is that so I can cut out when you and Danny start fucking screaming at each other?
Like if somebody flashes their dick or something. It's just like,
oh,
all live TV has some kind of delay in case, you know.
Yeah.
I think it all started with in the 70s when people were streaking onto football fields with.
I think George Carlin did it. I don't know. I think he started the whole thing. Yeah. So anyway, New Year's Eve was interesting. We watched a movie called Tenet, Tenet.
You know, I tried to watch that a couple times.
Yeah.
Couldn't follow it. You know, like usually I'm able to follow any movie no matter what. I mean, I didn't understand what was going on. You know, like I made it like. I think both times I tried to watch it, I think I made it about a half hour in, and I was just like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, well, you got to go all the way through it once, and then you got to take a drink, get some aspirin. Then you got to go through it again with a whiteboard, and you have to pause it every 3 minutes.
Oh, wait, that's me.
Okay.
All right.
And then you got to figure out each section, and then you got to start talking about entropy and physics, and you got to get Leo online. And so anyway, we're at the stage where we watched it once, and we've all had a drink and taken some aspirin. Now we're waiting to get the energy to go at it again because holy shit.
I mean, I think what it was is it didn't seem to go anywhere very quickly. You know what I mean? Like it was really cool. Like when they first started trying to explain shit to him and how the bullet, came up into his hand rather than falling. Oh, well, it had already fallen, like.
Exactly. So
right.
You can have
hang on.
Example,
God damn it. Fucking YouTube. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was, but what's really cool is when he was shooting backwards and the bullets are going back into the gun. I want a gun like that. I want to do that because that looks really cool. You go out and you fire 10 rounds and then bring them back into the gun.
You're catching them, yeah.
Yeah, and then loop and fire 10 rounds again. That would be awesome. I don't know. That may be cool. But, yeah, we want to see if the movie makes logical sense if we analyze it. So we're going to be working on that. Probably between now and 2031, we're planning on figuring that movie out.
Yeah. Let me know what you come up with. I mean, I might try it again and to see if,
Yeah. One neat thing that hit us somewhere, I don't know, my son came up with it into the movie, like Tenet played it's a palindrome, backwards and forwards, same. Right? And that's the whole, and then you look at the movie poster and it was kind of the same thing, but it's pretty awesome. I don't know. It was awesome. Otangelo and I have been talking on chat. Can you imagine that?
Did he rage quit yet?
No, he's we're still going at it, but now he came back with a rare case is Anthony Flew. Who isn't Anthony Flew the one they claim or converted in later life when he became senile? Is he the one?
No, I think Anthony Flew is like an influenza that originated in Italy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tony Flew. Anthony Flew is the guy that he was like an avid atheist and then supposedly he had a late life conversion, which often happens when you start to lose your mind. What amazes me is that these young people have a conversion before they've lost their mind.
Well, I forget who was having a discussion. It might have been me and Knock on one of his streams, and I was explaining to him or whoever it was I was talking to. It's not necessarily about the going senile. It's about the closer you get to the end, then you start looking for answers, and then like some people start, letting their understanding of their own mortality, cause them into going down avenues of thought that they never went down before.
Like W.C. Fields with the looking for loopholes. You've heard
right.
that?
Did I say that on this channel?
No, you haven't yet. But
you knew that? Yeah, because I just told that quote whenever we were talking about this before, wherever it was. I said, yeah, W.C. Fields, who was a lifelong atheist, and then somebody comes in the bedroom where he's laying sickly, towards the end of his life, and the person's like, what are you doing reading the Bible?
Yeah.
And like you said, looking for loopholes.
Looking for loopholes. Yeah. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that bullshit about end of life conversion. There are some people that just haven't dealt with it properly, and they reach the end of their life and they have no idea what to do with it. So and the other thing is that your mind does start to fucking degrade at a certain point. And I think
right. Not everybody's mind, though.
Not everybody's, but there was some evidence that Anthony Flu's mind did start to go, I think.
The way I look at it is like, I can't see me getting towards the end of my life unless, like you said, unless my mind's starting to go and thinking I'm going to convert to believing in Sky Daddy, in life after death. But like, I could see me towards the end of my life, maybe going towards, you know what? Maybe, what was that baseball player's name? Maybe Ted Williams had the right idea. Maybe looking at freezing myself or something like that.
Yeah. Well, or just give it up. I mean, Jesus Christ, So on several occasions, starting in 2001, rumors circulated claiming that Flu had converted from atheism to deism. Flu denied these rumors on the secular web. But in 2004, during a couple of phone conversations, he said he was considering becoming a theist. He did not change his position at the time. Okay, so then when did the man die? Let's see, when did he die? He died in 2010 at 87. So let's see.
Wasn't even that old.
Huh?
Wasn't even that old.
Nope, not that old. He developed the No True Scotsman fallacy. How about that? So he's famous for that. Did you know that? Bet you didn't know that. Well, you have to come to my channel to find those fucking kind of facts and many more. So there is a God, how the world's most notorious atheist changed his mind, was written by Flu in collaboration with Roy Abraham Varghese. But anyway, so Otangelo refers to him here. He's doing his typical appeal to authority bullshit again. So always. But anyway, it started.
Speed, what about this Anthony Flu guy who he converted at the end of his life, and he said that
right. So it all started out with I didn't read. Okay, Otangelo writes these books in chat, and I don't read them. I try to read them, but I kind of lose interest normally because he pretty much says the same thing over and over again. Yeah. I got fucking books that that teach genetics and cell biology. I do not need to listen to Otangelo droning on over and over again about cell biology. So at the end of it, he had a link to something called biosemiosis.org, and it was on the Wayback Machine. So I found this guy called the fuck, he's written a lot of fairly intelligent sounding stuff on biosemiotics and intelligent design. And of course, I fired back and said he doesn't agree with you, but then I hadn't read his site. He does agree with Otangelo. And so then we went back and forth, and then I mean, right in the middle of it, I'm like, okay, like at the the last thing I asked Otangelo, I said, he dropped a bunch of names, and I said, Yaki is not an idea, dear, nor is Barbieri. There are two names that he keeps dropping. Same with about 99% of the biosemiotics guys. And I said, why do you think they wrote the books on biosemiotics and they do not agree with you. And in response to that, he gave me another encyclopedic entry, which I don't know how the fuck I'm going to read this. I don't know. Let's see. Where is?
Maybe that's what broke the email chain the other day. His fucking post.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, the response is like whenever he peels, like you say, he said, well, this person agrees with me. My response to that would be, well, yeah, so what? John Maddox agrees with you too.
Right. Oh, it just goes on and on. And so then I read one of this guy's posts, right? And he's talking about trying to find intelligent life. He is trying to find proof of intelligent design in the design. And he freely admits that any biological system is completely physical. So there's, so you have three parts. You have the message or the message sender, you have the message translator, and you have the message receiver. He admits that they're all physical. But then he starts talking about SETI, and he starts talking about how they might find out if an intelligent message has come through to us. And one way that they do that is they look for a really narrow band of basically electromagnetic radiation or radio waves, so that it looks like somebody fine-tuned, the band like we do when we transmit radio. Well, the truth of that is we don't fine-tune it all that well. Otherwise, you wouldn't get you wouldn't get these cross frequencies and noise. But anyway, so he comes up with that idea, and then he's going along really good, and he's trying to make a case for how to prove that DNA is such a code, that we absolutely have the signature of intelligent design. And then he calls it a semiotic signal, which I've tried to explain a couple times on this channel. But anyway, but then he goes ahead and he says, well, if it's a semiotic signal, which all of these biologists agree with, it's semiotic, then it's obviously intelligently designed. He kind of pulls a grasso on us. Pulling a grasso.
I don't know if it was just your wording or if it was his wording, what you started out with. It's kind of begging the question to say, I'm looking for intelligent design in the design. Like
right.
That, like saying you're kind of like, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, it's a design.
Right. Yeah. Obviously a design. So anyway,
speaking of SETI though, too, did you know that there's like sometime in the last month, maybe there was a signal that they got from Proxima Centauri?
Yeah. Whatever came of that?
Nothing. I mean, I just watched a video about it yesterday. It's, they're still, because, just like with anything else like that, they need, like the WOW signal, they never got it again, so this, but they did give it a designation, whatever the letters were, 1. In other words, the vast majority of those signals they pick up get thrown to the shit pile because, they find, an explanation for it, or, discover that it's signals coming from Earth itself, or, elsewhere in the solar system from like some natural means.
Yeah.
But this one was the first one in, I forget what they said, it was either 5 or 10 years that actually got a designation, to have further analysis of it done. And that was the thing they pointed out in the video, is this is, whatever the lettering was, at BS1, so that's the first one that they've designated to go on further in the, 5 or 10 year span, or whichever they were talking about. So I guess they do have a pretty regimented, system to decide whether they're worth, pursuing further or whatever.
So they called it BS1?
I'm saying I don't remember what the letters were. I just said that off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if they were calling it BS or.
Yeah, no, that was my choice of letters, just to be an asshole. So I guess there is, and I forget the name of it, but there's a planet in the Goldilocks, zone, I guess, for that star. but it's tidally locked. So half of it is always in sun, half of it is always in darkness, and it's a rocky body. That's all they really talked about. So, still to be determined whether it's from an intelligent source or if it's, something else.
Right. So Standing responded to me. So I've been having a thing going on with Standing for Truth, and I just wanted to catch up on that. And it's on, so he says, let's see. He said, lol, or laughing out loud, Speed's idea of a response video, play 15 seconds out of a 20-minute video, make a couple of straw man arguments, call SFT a sham wall salesman, move to a new topic. Well, the thing is,
sham wall salesman.
Yeah, so he
was exactly what he's referring to.
Well, I sent him an email about yesterday's talk, and I said, "Hey, Stanley, I mentioned you, and I wasn't kind." And because I like to give my heads up when I'm slamming him. So anyway, I said, "Where was the straw man? You did say they couldn't put on a jacket, so they needed a big genome. Where is your evidence for any kind of adaptation that requires all of those tandem repeats to keep an onion warm in the Arctic Circle?" Now, the original article, or the original thing that he said. Now, okay, if you make a straw man argument, what you've done is you've sort of reduced their argument to something cartoonish, right?
Straw manning is misrepresenting the other person's argument such that you're not addressing their actual point.
Yeah, and usually that involves misreading their argument or turning their argument into a cartoon of what it was, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I could go with that explanation.
Okay.
But the thing is, too, is like it misrepresenting, but it's definitely, in most instances, in my opinion, it's a
misrepresentation.
What I'm trying to say is it's a intentional thing. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Oh fuck. I don't know if I should do this or not. I'm going to do it. You two stay off each other, or
now, Speed, you're stirring the pot by letting me in. Okay.
No, fuck.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to say anything. Don't worry, John.
Okay, hang on.
So, but the funny thing about that is that Standing for Truth, calling you out for straw manning him, which I don't believe you did. I was here for your analysis of what he was saying. And, the funny thing is the sheer volume of biological entities that do not have the ability to put a jacket on, that don't have genomes as large as an onion's genome. Like, so that right there, that rules his argument right the fuck out. Okay. Like you brought up garlic. Garlic can't go put a jacket on either. Well, why is garlic's genome so much smaller than an onion?
Yeah. Okay, so here it is right here. I hope it's really clear in the stream. But this is what he actually said. Point to make plant genomes, though they are larger for adaptive purposes. So think about it. Plants can't, he's talking to snake was right. Plants can't move, okay? They can't put on a jacket if it's cold out, okay? So if you're looking at temperature fluctuations, pH changes, for example, acid rain, for example, you name it, okay? So plants are they're constantly facing negative environmental changes, okay? And it can't do anything, so it has to adapt quickly or it dies. So therefore, even like an animal, if you look at certain animals that can adapt, they can move underground, for example. Humans, we can go in our house and put a coat on, so they need bigger genomes for the redundant purposes, backup redundancy. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. And then right from there he goes, and here's my question for you. And so he diverts off the topic. So that is his whole argument. I did not fucking straw man that.
Right. Well, and that's a direct transcription from it, right?
It's a direct transcript, right? And so
well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, okay, because I don't know anything about all this stuff, just what you guys tell me. Like, okay, compared to like a human genome, like, what's the genome of an earthworm?
Yeah.
Like, is it
I don't know.
Is it quite smaller than larger organisms?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay. I'm just curious if it is, because like earthworms can move underground pretty damn easy.
Yeah, they can. Right.
Do y'all get along with SFT like as persons, or like?
Oh yeah, personally, I get along with them real well. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
it just gets heated with respect to like the conversations.
Well, yeah. Well, not heated. The problem with Standing for Truth is he never engages long enough for it to get heated.
Oh, okay. I talked to him last night, I think, about the problem of evil, and it was a hard conversation. I couldn't.
Well, I
feel
mean,
like I wasn't being understood.
if you remember Speed, I don't remember if you were involved with this or not, but like me and him were going back and forth in an MDD live chat, and he was being like a real fucking dick to me.
Really?
And then like the next day we were in a live chat of another video, and he tried to play it off as if, oh, I thought you were somebody else.
Okay. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Remember that? And like,
yep, I remember that. Yeah. So anyway, what the fuck? So I try to tell him, where's the straw man? Where exactly is the straw man? That's exactly what you said. I mean, I made it sound a little bit funny because I said, wearing overcoats for onions theory. And then I went on to say, responding to your sparse, inept genetic theories only takes a few minutes. I wish you had more. And he said, what did he say to me? Oh, he gave me some growly faces. And then I said, well, I was kind of hoping you could back up your winter overcoats for onions theory with something. And he came back and said, here's a more important question, my friend. Do you and an onion completely share a relationship through common ancestry? If you go back far enough in time, that is. And then I said, you so slippery. Do you notice that he quit fucking talking about onions entirely? He hasn't backed up anything that he said. He hasn't given me any reason to believe, or he hasn't given me any reasoning for how I strawmanned him.
Well, no, I know. Well, what it is, it's another example of exactly what you brought up when you read that transcript and when you talked about it yesterday. And my question to you is...
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, now he wants to talk about me being related to the onion, which is an entirely different fucking conversation. And I think if I were like closely related to an onion, like perhaps if my mother were an onion or my sister were an onion, I would have a bigger genome too. I don't know.
I mean, I think you might be related to an onion. You often bring tears to my eyes.
Mm. Good. I do like onions. My dad famously made onion sandwiches.
I love onions too. And there was a bar back where I grew up that and even back then, as I was coming of age, like there was different places you could go across the state line, and the drinking age was only 18. And then back in them days too, like a lot of bars were pretty loose on, even if you weren't quite of age.
Right.
Yeah, one of the, I can't remember the name of the bar, and they would like once or twice a week, their special would be a provolone and onion sandwich.
Oh, that would be good. My dad made them with just butter, homemade bread, and sliced raw onions and salt and pepper. And holy shit, is that good? It's better than it sounds. It's amazing. Speaking of bars, my friend Rodney, back in the day, when he turned 21, he's a few days younger than me, or a few weeks younger than me. He went, when he turned 21, he went to Buck's Bar in Virginia, Minnesota. And he went in there and he said, hey, Buck, buy me a drink on, it's my 21st birthday. And Buck pulled out Rodney's tab so Rodney could pay his tab, because he said, what the fuck? You've been coming here for 7 years. He was a customer since he was 14. And the bartender didn't know it until he came in and told him it was his 21st birthday. So.
I have a similar story. We used to go across the New York state line and go to this bar called the Rusty Nail. And because there was 18 there. And one night, the band was, I can't even remember her name. whatever. We'll just say her name was Suzanne or whatever.
Okay.
And the band, this next song goes out to Suzanne. Happy 18th birthday. And like there was like a bunch of fucking bartenders in there. They all like exchanged glances because they had all like fucked her over the years.
Oh no!
and she had been going in there for like 5-6 years or something. It's
Right?
like, yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah. It was like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
one of them girls that really matured, quickly as far as looks.
So Ian Chen says Maddox is an onion. He's an asshole on the outside. When you peel back the layers, you cry when you see he's just the same on the inside.
Tell you what, I always keep onions, man. I love onions and everything. And then like the other day, I went to grab an onion to make something, and here it had grown shoots out of it. It was just like a Spanish onion, but it had grown like 5 or 6 like long ass shoots out of it, and then the onion itself was all soft and everything. And so I cut the shoots off and used them with another onion. But I was just like, I never saw an onion do that.
Yeah, they do.
I've seen my potatoes that have done that, but I didn't.
No, put an onion in a glass of water, or give it a little bit of moisture, and it pops right back up because they're biannuals, and we pick them on the first year, and they're capable of setting up these wonderful stalks on the second year, which are really thick and juicy, and you can use them in salads. But yeah, don't throw your onions away. Put them in a little bit of water or whatever. The second year, they'll come right back. Pretty cool. So, Danny, what do you think of intelligent design?
I think they're.
What do you think about finding the traces of? Well, yeah, okay. You had that big talk the other night where basically you cannot find in physical information any traces of intelligent design, and I think that's because of what is it? What the hell was the word I'm looking for? Underestimation. What am I looking for? Basically, it could be more than one thing that caused something. Right. Specification? I don't know. There's a word.
Underdetermination is called.
Underdetermination is what I'm looking for. Yeah, thank you.
Physical facts are going to underdetermine whether they're caused by another physical state or an intentional state.
Yeah.
So, and it's unintuitive, but the point is that if you come across a watch, right, it might be reasonable to think that it was designed, but even so, it's possible that it was put together naturalistically.
Yeah.
And as long as that's possible, you can't appeal to the watch itself.
Yeah.
The watch that you're observing itself, to say that it was designed or not designed.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to have to appeal to something else, right? And that's namely our background knowledge, basically perceiving people making watches or counting the testimonies of people that say, yeah, this is the kind of thing that we create in our factory, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always going to be a problem of underdetermination with respect to intentional explanations.
Like, what if a dolphin found the watch on the beach, and the dolphin, had never seen a human being before, or a ship, or any of that stuff, and a dolphin sees a watch on the beach, and suppose dolphins, can think deeply about things. How is he going to figure out whether that was natural or designed?
So granting that dolphins have minds, because I'm actually kind of incredulous about that.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Now you fucking dualist. Okay.
Well, there are some things I don't know. There's a lot of things you might agree with me on without converting you to dualism. Like, for instance, like that intentional, under the problem of underdetermination. There, I don't think you need to be a dualist, because you might be the kind of physicalist that thinks that like intentional states are physical, but they're like a type of physical thing that's unlike, of course, well, by definition, unlike any other kind of physical state or something like that, right? Now that's what I might mean by non-physical, but
right.
Now the point is that dolphins, yeah, if they have intentional states, right? If they were to see a watch and they have no background knowledge, I don't think they're licensed the inference that it's like been designed. But there's
Right.
there's also a more fundamental issue I think with ID theory is that what the hell is an undesigned thing? You know?
Right, right. The phrase that's just it. Is like I can agree, not agree with the way it's applied, but I can agree with the statement intelligent design because design inherently presupposes an intelligence.
Yeah, that. And yeah, I mean like I just don't know what are they going they think presumably they think everything has been designed, right? Everything was created by God.
Right.
So, what's the difference between, that rock and and whatever's inside a nucleus, right? Like I actually, while I find a difference a meaningful difference in my intuition, obviously I think that DNA is a bit more complex. I think if you really think about it, there's not going to be a very good principle distinction. I think philosophically.
Yeah. Well, DNA being complex is one of the reasons why I find for evolution, because, like I pointed out several times on this channel in the last few weeks, DNA, only 1.5% of it is that codon protein connection, right? So that's the part that they always want to talk about is that 1.5%. But when you look at what's going on in the rest of the DNA, it is sort of it is a Rube Goldberg machine on acid. I mean, it's like it's incredibly, ridiculously, overly complicated.
I mean, here I think that is, I don't know, the impetus or the reason behind is because it's kind of a bit of an equivocation. They're saying that complexity or the mere appearance of design equals design.
Right.
And that's just not the case. I mean, just because something's complex doesn't mean that it's designed.
Yeah, and the complexity of DNA, as it turns out, is not anything that's machine-like at all, because some of these proteins,
well, not according to Otangelo.
well, some of these proteins that attach or regulators like RNAs that attach to the DNA, they bump into it accidentally because of heat, because things are bumping into each other at that temperature, and they bump into each other and they're sticky, and they're not sticky to the same degree all the time. So I mean, sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't, sometimes they stick really well, and this kind of shit is going on at every level in the DNA. So it's like this big chemical reaction or ball.
Do you mind
of
if I
mud.
share my screen?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I think that this would be really interesting. Let me see if I can. I've never shared my screen on this platform, so I can.
Are you sharing a Chrome tab or are you sharing an application?
A Chrome tab.
Okay, so go to the Chrome tab one.
Okay.
And make sure that you have recently opened that tab.
Does that work? Is that? I think I just hit it.
Oh, you did it.
Okay. So, this is. I advise everyone to read these two, 2A and 2B. These are very, very well written. Very well written. I'm not going to read through the entire A, but I think we should look at B, the argument from biological information.
Can you do me the favor of putting?
No, wait a minute. I was just reading it, and then you start scrolling up.
No.
Sorry. Do you want me to go back up to the?
Oh wait, you're saying okay. You went down to where B is fleshed out.
Yeah, exactly. No, B is one of the best, well put responses to biological information. So let me read the relevant part. There's a lot to read here.
Before you do that, Danny, can you put a link in chat?
Yeah.
For us?
Let me do that really fast.
Oh, that's IEP. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good source.
Heady.
There, I just put it in the chat. Okay, so let me go back to. So anyway, let me read this 2 paragraphs here that really sum it up really well. Okay, so these 2 paragraphs are it. This is it, right? They're referring to Stephen Meyer.
Yep.
Stephen Meyer's reasoning appears vulnerable to the same objection to which the argument from biochemical complexity is vulnerable. In all of the contexts in which we legitimately make design inference in response to an observation of information, we already know that there exist intelligent agents, with the right sorts of motivations and abilities to produce information content. After all, we know human beings exist and are frequently engaged in the production and transmission of information. It is precisely because we have this background knowledge that we can justifiably be confident that intelligent design is far more probable explanation than chance for any occurrence of information that a human being is capable of producing. In the absence of antecedent reason for thinking there exists intelligent agents capable of creating information content, the occurrence of he gives an example, the occurrence of a pattern of flowers in the shape of Welcome to Victoria would not obviously warrant an inference of intelligent design. So, for those that want me to summarize this very quickly, this paragraph is just saying this, right? If you didn't have your background knowledge about, let's say, computer languages or computer or codes or anything like that, you would not look at DNA and think that it's been designed, right?
Right. Exactly.
It would be like looking at a tree, right? And we don't build trees, right? And so when we look at a tree, that's precisely why many ID theorists don't use trees in their arguments, because there's no background knowledge of us making trees. I mean, we grow trees. I don't mean that. I mean like literally building trees. We don't do that, right? We build codes. So then, when we look at something that looks or seems like a code, like the ones that we construe, then they provide the argument. But it's only in the first place, right, that we have this connection between human beings and codes, right? That's even a question, right? So this is a very, very good paragraph. Now, the second, and then I'm done. The problem, however, is that the very existence of an intelligent deity is the issue, right? In the absence of some antecedent reason for thinking there exists an intelligent deity capable of creating information, the occurrence of sequences of nucleotides that can be described as representing information, quote unquote, does not obviously warrant an inference of intelligent design. No matter how improbable the chance explanation might be, to justify preferring one explanation as more probable than the other, we must have information about the probability of each explanation. They will never tell you the probability of God creating it. Right? The mere fact that certain sequences take a certain shape that we can see meaning or value in by itself tells us nothing obvious about the probability that is a result of intelligent design. These two paragraphs sum up the entire problem, in my view. Right? The other stuff, the part A is pretty good, and the rest of the above part of part B is pretty good. But this is it for me, right? I think if you understand this, you can reply to any ID theorist.
Yep. Yeah, and
and actually, what that kind of goes back to your question, Speed. The dolphin, finding the watch on the beach, without that prerequisite knowledge, it would just imagine it was like any other clamshell.
Exactly. Yeah,
like a weird octopus or a clamshell or some goddamn thing.
Yeah,
and that's all they can see. And so it really is just full of begging the question and going on. And every time you engage Otangelo on this, that's all he does is he keeps repeating to you biology and how complicated it is. And he never actually wants to get down into these or get up into these higher level discussions about what the hell is intelligence and what would intelligence look like. But the thing is, are you done with this page, Danny?
Yeah, let me take it off. For anybody that was still reading it, that because it I read it twice before I was like, yes, excuse me.
Application window.
Yeah, I mean, and how about, I don't know if Danny was here the other day.
Whoops.
When Otangelo referenced a paper, and then I and a few other people in the room immediately went to that link, and we were reading the paper, and myself and Leo and a couple other people, recognized where he had made his mistake and the claim he was making and explained it to him. And then he got all butthurt and left.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, was that when he said Leo was taking a tone with him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Taking a tone with him, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just you guys have a very different approach to ID theorists, and I'm not saying like I'm just better equipped philosophically, but y'all can actually dispute a lot of the scientific claims that they're saying. I'm not really equipped to do that. So I go with conceptual. I think that the conceptual approach is something that they usually don't expect because if I were to debate an ID theorist, I would grant them any paper they wanted, right? I don't really care if it's from Answers in Genesis, right? Such and such thing is true of a biological system, right? I don't really care, right? Because there's a fundamental conceptual issue with the inference, not an empirical issue. So I think, they're people that are better equipped addressing the empirical data, but I feel like there's just that fundamental conceptual issue that if it's addressed, I just don't think they could have a reply, right? And they're not going to be able to appeal to a paper, right?
What the hell is going on the screen right now?
What's happening? I don't know. Anyway,
Looks like translation to me. You're missing the ribosome, right?
no. Well, yeah, I did not include the ribosome in this little piece. But okay, so we have codons here, right? There's three codon pairs, right? And it's just a string of mRNA. So this is called messenger RNA, and that comes out of the nucleus, and that has the message for the protein. And in here we have right here we have something called a tRNA, which is a transfer RNA, right?
I mean, if it's messenger RNA, I mean, how can you deny that it's not designed?
I know it's messengers. It's right in the name. Intelligent design is right in the name.
Wait, do they really say that? Do they really say because it's termed messenger RNA that?
Well,
like,
I'm sure they have.
I'm being a smartass, but that.
Well, no, okay, no, really. John Maddox says it's right in the paper. It says that it's a code. He says it says it's a code, so obviously somebody encoded it, right? John Maddox will say stupid shit like that, but he is like a cut below everybody else, so it's hard to. Anyway, so what we got here is this tRNA right here. Okay, this is the tRNA, and it has a particular amino acid, and there's these other molecules called AAR amino acyl tRNA synthetase, so AARSs. These things are involved in charging one particular tRNA. So there's a whole mechanism, and these things are all built out of this thing. So the DNA tells you what the code is going to be, how the code is going to be translated. But let's not think about that for a second. So we have this code business, and the point that they're making with biosemiotics is that right here, there's no reason that amino acid, that this one right here, has to be attached to that particular codon. That is called arbitrary. Okay. And it is indeed kind of an arbitrary thing. It happened. It's in almost every living thing on Earth uses exactly the same codes. So this is the whole point they're making, that it's arbitrary. Okay. And it becomes a code. But the real problem is
that term arbitrary. Have you asked them what it means? Because I think that the term arbitrary is going to be boiled down to, I think if you press them on what they mean by arbitrary, they're going to have to say that just means non-intentional.
Random.
But I don't really think there's any randomness here in the philosophical sense, right? Like, typically random means without explanation. But there's going to be an explanation for all of this, right?
Right, exactly.
And so if they say that arbitrary just means not guided or not intentional, they're legit begging the question, right? Like, that's like the textbook begging the question. So I think next time they say arbitrary, you say, do you mean arbitrary as in no explanation, or do you mean non-intentional? Because obviously we think there's an explanation for it, right?
Yeah.
And if you're saying that it's not intentional, then you're just begging the question. Who knows what they would, I don't think they could respond to that.
Right.
So just real quick to completely, as I always do, derail what Speed's talking about. Apparently Stupid Horn Energy has dated a guy before with a really interesting birth defect.
Cool. What was it?
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, it has like a little strange cockhead.
Oh, like forked?
Yeah, no. Well, because she tried to do the 8 with the equal signs and then the D at the end, and she used the lowercase d to start with.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah. I just figured, your very well thought explanation, couldn't go on much further without knowing that.
Yes, exactly. The connection here. Okay. Anyway, okay. So we have this arbitrary code, and they never want to drill into how that arbitrary. Okay, because that arbitrary code comes from these AARSs, and I think there's like 40 of them. Might be 24. I don't know. I don't fucking keep track of that. But anyway, they all come from the DNA. So these things are proteins themselves, and they're coded by that same DNA. So this DNA not only has a code for making proteins, but it has the code for decoding proteins inside of it. Okay, so it's all in there. But the question is, how did it get there? And when you talk about how did it get there, when you talk about how it got there, there are fucking tons. There are hundreds of papers about how it got there. There are some smaller, simpler systems that basically connected that amino acid with these codons, and this system sort of like evolved in complexity like this, to where it got more and more complex. And now we're looking at 4.5 billion years after the whole shitball started back here, right? But it was a lot simpler. And there are very good reasons. When you look statistically at those codes have a certain statistics to them. And they're starting to unwind that. And these guys don't like to talk about that. They don't like to talk.
Good evening. Morning. How you doing?
Good morning. So anyway, I don't know. I hope that explains the what they mean by a code. So they're saying that this is a code, that or a semiotic system. It has that three parts. It has the signal, it has the object that it ends up creating, and it has the translator. And so
I mean,
this is the translator.
Imagine we constructed, right, trees like in a mechanical way, right?
What is wrong with your audio?
What?
Imagine. This relates to what you're saying, Speed. Trust me, I'm not derailing anything, right? Imagine if we constructed trees and we didn't know anything about trees growing or being produced naturally, right? We just made them, right? Or at least things that looked like what we observe, today, right? And then we decided to move to a different planet where we see a tree that grew from the ground, right? Now, imagine what an ID theorist is going to say, right? They're going to say, well, look at the branches. This is just like what we do in the factory. Well, look at these root-like things, right? Look at the, look, this is where it allows for passive transport, right? And they're going to point to all of the things, all the properties that makes it such that they establish it as a tree, right? And say that those properties are also in the mechanisms that we create here back on Earth, right? And so it's the same thing that they're doing here, right? They're looking at DNA and they're identifying everything that makes it such that they identify it as a code and then say, well, those things are also present in the things that we manufacture, right? And so we're licensed to a design inference, right? But in the hypothetical, this tree grew from the ground, right? Why is it that they're rejecting the naturalistic explanation of it coming from in this case, they wouldn't know what a seed was, but there's some unknown naturalistic explanation of the seed and we, all of that business, and they're dismissing that any kind of possible mechanism like that. So I don't see the point in them, right? If you understand what I just said, I don't see the point in them showing you all of the look. This is coextensive with this, and there's translation here, and like pointing out that this and that. It doesn't matter. Right? You could grant all of it, right? The point is that why is it that you think that it's not a naturalistic explanation? What's the probability of it being intentional, right?
That is a really good analogy or a good story. A really good way to look at this. It's obvious that they have a prior motive. They look at the Bible. And they believe in the Bible first and foremost beyond anything else. Okay, that's where they're coming from. And then they want to commandeer science and make it look like science is verifying the Bible. And that's their whole shtick right now. And that's how they're trying to inject themselves into the education system. Shit.
Well, and they seem to be hung up on the idea, okay, so if you had, done a survey 150 years ago or 200 years ago, and how many people of the population, believed in a God, it would have been 95% or greater, and they try to make a big thing out of this fact that most of the scientists that started all the biggest, scientific fields, they were all God believers, as if that.
Yeah, because everybody in that era was.
But okay, but let's be. I want to be a little, because I actually share their intuitions, right? So let's take that tree example again, right? I think when everyone sees the tree that's been produced naturalistically, and they don't, let's keep in mind they don't know it's been produced naturalistically yet. They just see it on face. I think it's reasonable to think, oh my gosh, that looks like exactly what we create in our mechanistic trees, right? And then it's hard to help, I could see why someone would have the intuition that maybe some intelligence produced it, right? Because their background knowledge sort of motivates them to think that kind of thing was only the kind of thing that would be mechanistically produced by human beings, right? And so I think that I wouldn't want to say, I mean, of course, many Christians are motivated, right? Motivated reasoners. But, I mean, there is something weird. Let's take an example where we're all kind of agree, right? We create cars, okay? Now, it's possible that a car or something that, a car could produce, something that looks like a car could be produced organically. That's physically possible. Now, if we were to all look at that, right? Now, the naturalist, or really I wouldn't even really want to say the naturalist, but there's going to be a group of people that say, well, that really looks like a car, and I can understand why someone would think that it's been produced, but let's slow down here. What reason do we have to think that it's been produced intelligently if it doesn't originate from a planet with intelligence, right? Yeah. Whereas the ID theorists, right, are going to jump really fast and on their intuition, right? That, look, all my background knowledge tells me that cars made out of metal with steering wheels and axles and wheels and all this stuff, that's been produced by us. Well, this has axes and wheels and steering and things that look like windows. Although it's not metal and it's made out of organic compounds, it still has all these hallmarks, right, of a car that we would produce. It must be intelligently designed. So I think that I wouldn't be so quick to say that their motivations are strictly because they want to believe that it's that there is a God, or they want to believe that the biblical creation story is true, right? It's because I think there is legitimate intuitions there.
Hold on, I want to comment on that. Okay, so but I think that where you're going wrong there in using the term motivations. Okay, because I think what it is, it's the same thing you were talking about 15 minutes ago. It's that their prior knowledge is clouded by this Bible, by this belief in God. And so when they look at something, they're looking at it through that filter. I don't think it's necessarily their motivation. It's that when they look at something, if it has any, appearance of complexity or any appearance of that could have been designed, then because of their prior knowledge, which is based on the Bible and believing in God and believing God created everything, then that's where they're going to say it's intelligently designed.
No, but there are ID theorists and there are people that reject naturalistic explanations that are not Christians, let alone theists. Thomas Nagel is a prime example, right? Now, he's an atheist, right? But he does not think there's a naturalistic explanation, right? And because there's look, when you look at DNA, it does have some strong similarities with a lot of what we call, what we create to be codes, right? I think while you're right, there are a lot of people that are biased toward because of their religion, right? There are also a lot of people that are religious and non-religious, right? That will look at such a thing and say, wow, that is very complicated.
I mean, it's like what Speed said, though, like several minutes ago, is like the group that you're talking about right now, they would look at a rock and in their mind it was designed. because it was designed by their god. Everything was designed by.
Yeah, but I'm saying that not all of these people are simply they're not motivated. Not all of them are motivated simply because they want to accept a creation story. I think that there is a real motive, intuition, or there's a thing that that if we were to see something like a created thing, right? I know some people, people don't grant that, but if you were to grant that organic tree has a lot of similarity with the mechanistic tree, right? Which is, I think, what we did grant in the hypothetical, right? It seems rather natural to come to the conclusion that it's been designed, but it's not a good inference, right? I'm just saying that some people are motivated not simply because of what they want to be true in terms of creation story, but because there is, in fact, they do perceive strong similarity.
Well, right, but that's why I'm balking at your views. You keep saying motivated, and I don't think there's any motivation behind it. It's just like what you said earlier, that someone looks at a thing that is designed, and because of their prior knowledge of things that humans design, they know it to be designed.
What I mean by motivation, look, you can be motivated to believe something false or something and not irrational, right? Well, all I mean by motivation is something like an intentional explanation, or like, for instance, intuitions and perceptions are not inferences, right? When you look at something and it seems a certain way, that's to say there's an intuition about it, you're not making a reasonable inference. It's a perception, right? And the mistake that they're making is they're counting that as an inference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They're counting that as an inference when they're not licensed to the inference.
Yeah.
So if they were being really honest, they would say, look, it seems designed, or it seems like a code. I don't have an argument for why it's necessarily there's an intentional explanation, but it looks that way. But I know that it's not. That's the camp that I'm in. I'll be free to admit that it looks like something that's been designed. Okay, I used to be on that side arguing for ID theory, right? And I'm telling you, it wasn't just simply that I wanted to believe in a creation story. It looked designed to me. But that doesn't mean that I'm licensed to the inference that it's designed. And some people don't have those intuitions. Many scientists and evolutionists and people like y'all look at it, and y'all do not have the same intuition as I do or others do, right? Both atheists and theists, right? So I'm just saying that if we're really thinking about the arguments, right, or the inferences, perception and intuition is not going to count for any of it, right?
Yeah, the problem that I have hit John with over and over again, John Maddox, is that, and Otangelo, is that you're not working on this inference. What they do is they come up with what they call premises. They have 1, 2, 3, and they go up to 8 premises, and then conclusion. So they get from here to there with no fucking work on the inference at all. The inference is just that people talk about it that way. It's not an analogy. It's an actual. It really is a code. It is a code. All this bullshit, but they're not working on the inference. And when they come up with what they call a syllogism, what fucking kills me, is that there is no connection between these sets and their conclusion. Right?
Right. Absolutely. You're right. Right. I think because it will never be a sound argument to say it seems like X, therefore it's X. It will not be. Look, we can all. No one's going to blame them. I think, or no one ought blame them.
Your volume is going way down, Danny.
Sorry. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. No one is. I don't think you should blame creationists or even people like Thomas Nagel for what things seem like. Okay, but every responsible thinker should know that if it seems like a certain way, doesn't mean it's that way. Think about geocentrism, right? There are a lot of things that seem a certain way, and then we've shown that it's actually not that way. Okay, but no one is going to blame each other for saying. No one's going to blame a child saying that it seems like the sun is revolving around the Earth, right? If no one's taught them what the actual models are that we've accepted and the reasons for those models, right? Why would we blame them, right?
Yeah. Mutable Destiny came up with a really good point here. And if you come from a molecular biology background or chemistry background, you will come to a very different intuition than you will if you come from a biochemistry background or an engineering background. because when you come at it from molecular biology, you see the reactions in more detail, so that they always talk about SpongeBob imagination, like it's a bad thing. Well, no, you learn something and then you imagine how it is applied. And when you have a good chemistry background, you can see these pieces and how they could and can fit together. But if you come at it from the top, looking at it like a machine, or looking at it like this beautiful design, and you have the Bible on the left, maybe irritating you with the possibility of a God-based design, then you're going to come to a totally different intuition. But these fuckers are willing to die for their intuition.
No, you're right. And I want to point out that there are a lot of Christians that dismiss ID theory, too. That's another thing, right? Lots, like Francis Collins, right? Well, I actually have to double check on that. I might be thinking of someone else. But I don't think Francis Collins is an ID theorist. I think he accepts theistic evolution, for instance, right?
Yeah.
But Francis Collins and others, William Lane Craig, actually, no. I think he accepts certain. I think that what they would accept is something like, look, God explains why there's life, but it's not like we've inferred from life that there's God. They might present separate arguments and then say, well, if God exists, it just seems like that these things will be ultimately explained by him. But the point is that like one of my best friends here where I live is a pastor, and he says ID theory is just not science. He's a pastor, right? Yeah. So you have to, it's much more in terms of psychologizing these people. It might be that the people that you're exposed to might be so motivated to the point where we're saying these things about them. But I just want to remind that atheists have similar intuition. Some do, like me and Thomas Nagel, right? That Christians actually may not have this intuition, right? There are clear counterexamples, right? That people reject ID theory as science and they're Christians, right? And yeah, of course, there are Christians that just want to believe that God is real, and so they will look for anything that they can grab onto, right? But I think then I don't know. It's just I just wanted to present that it's more complicated.
The thing is, too, is like, okay, so let's go way the hell out into left field and grant intelligent design is real. Okay, that doesn't even get you to God.
Oh, that's true too, right? Like why is it that they have to present separate arguments for why it's not an alien or something, right? Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because like I said many times, I think I've said it in this show and the shows that I do with Knock, is that a being could appear before my eyes right now and start performing what we would consider to be, miraculous, miracles. And my mind would first go to, wow, how far out of the universe are you from? And how long is your species been developing? Did you have this marvelous technology? That's the first thing I would think.
A lot of Christians would laugh at you, but I agree with you. And this is it's very hard for them to think about what you just said. Honestly, if a being appeared to me that way, I would think there's a God. But I don't think that I'm any more rational or you're any less rational for thinking that it's an alien species. Honestly, like I'm just, when I describe, look, if I saw that my name was spelled out in the stars saying Danny, believe in me, right? The point is that if I were to believe that that was just a coincidence versus believing that there's some super being out there, I don't think I'm licensed more in one direction over another, right? If you were to see that and you were to say, must be some alien, well, I guess they're aliens, right? I wouldn't have any arguments against you, right? And I have to say that what I'm saying and what you just said is something I rarely present to Christians because it just seems so, I trust, it seems so crazy to them, right? That they would think that kind of an experience would just be confirming that God exists, right? Same with the resurrection, right? To a lot of Christians, I actually grant the resurrection, right? I say, okay, Jesus resurrected and came back from the dead. Why isn't that? You tell me. You give me an argument for why we should infer that God exists over the inference that it's some naturalistic explanation that we don't know of. or that we were wrong about biology, and that there are these other biological truths.
So why is he the only one that was resurrected?
Well, he's the only one we know about.
It doesn't matter, right? It could be that the actual world, there's only one person that resurrects, and that's Jesus, but it's the naturalistic explanation, right? I'm saying that they don't. It's there. It's just. It's not really a good. I don't think there's any good argument to suggest that you should accept God exists from the fact that Jesus resurrected. But I also don't think there's a good argument to say that if someone recognizes that either is possible, but they just choose that God is the best explanation, I don't think there's a really good argument against them either, right? I think at that point, it's literally the what is it?
Well, I mean, the reason there's not no good argument against them either is because of the fact that even in the case of where I'm saying it's some alien species that's far more advanced than us that we're just now coming in contact with, is that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and a god.
Exactly. Because this is kind of to the problem of underdetermination, right? Where
I mean,
the
unless
problem
you expose them.
Well, the problem with God in general is that there is nothing predicted in terms of your observations if God exists, right? And if that's true, then all of your observations are consistent with there being a God and not being a God, right? So no matter what you observe, right, it's never going to confirm God, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't establish proofs for God. You can go to the conceptual route. The philosophy of religion people offer arguments for and against God conceptually. They don't appeal to observations, right? But in terms of the empirical route, I think anything that you witness empirically is going to be consistent with the existence of God, as well as consistent with God's non-existence, right? Inexistence, is that? I don't know which one is right. But yeah, I mean that's the point there.
Yep. So there's a possibility. I mean, okay, if you look at God as existing, okay, you say there is a God, and we are mortals, and we don't know what that God is exactly. I mean, he's just like, he's omniscient, he's super powerful, he has like these incredible plans. But also, if we admit that God is probably some kind of critter that we can't even conceptualize, we can't even, we have no idea what he is. That goes right back to the idea that we have a big bang, basically. So it banged big, and then I need a different color. Sorry. And then the universe had a certain structure, like these atoms were blown apart, but they weren't blown apart as pudding, right? It's not homogeneous. It didn't look like this, where every single one of these squares had a figure, right? They were equally distant from each other. It was kind of like, it was heterogeneous. And so anyway, there was information in right after the Big Bang. Where did that information come from? Whatever it was that created that information, what happened to my what happened to my goddamn diagram? Okay, whatever happened to that information, it could proceed along this 4.5 billion years and create whatever we are now naturalistically. So now we have naturalism, that it all happened by nature, right? Okay. And it happened because of the way that information was initially arranged. So you can be the kind of a Christian or a theist that goes back and, well, a theist that goes back and believes that whatever God is, something we cannot conceive, created the universe with this particular informational structure, and these things bumped into each other and created what we are now.
Well, and just a very pedantic correction to something you said a minute ago. I think you meant to say 13.8 billion years ago instead of 4.5.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm talking about the beginning of the universe. Yeah. Okay, so that was 13.8 BYA.
Yeah. I think. Well,
Thank you.
I think part of what informs my views about my metaphysical views is that I don't think that information is in principle observable, but so I wonder, you think that it's in principle observable, Speed?
What is
Information.
observable? Fuck yeah. Yes.
Oh, we're gonna disagree on that. I don't think it's like an observable
Why would
thing.
information not be observable? The information is simply the specification of where things are.
Are you maybe doing what Jerry Pena is suggesting in the chat? Are you conflating information with property?
I don't. I am assuming I use the terms very differently than you.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking Speed. I don't know whether Jerry's right or wrong. I'm not.
Oh, he's okay. Is Jerry asking Speed?
Jerry said, "Isn't information conflate with a property of something?" I guess is what he's saying.
I'm not sure exactly how that grammar parses out, but no, I see information as the pure physical fucking fact of how things are arranged in the universe. That is information. So if you have a different meaning for information, then on that we would fight. But that's just semantics. Okay.
Well, do you think that there's information independent of agency?
Fuck yeah.
Do you think? Okay. Do you mean it in the sense of covariance, where, like, by example, like smoke is information that there's heat?
Smoke is information that goes way beyond what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how molecules are arranged in space, how particles are arranged in space and time.
Well, what I'm asking is something like, do you? Excuse me. Do you? I guess here's a better question I should have asked before. Do you mean information in a different way than meaning?
What's that?
Do you distinguish information and something that means something else?
Oh, meaning is something on top of information. You have the information, and then of course you have semantics, syntax, and semantics would be the meaning. When you have meaning of information, you are necessarily talking about biosemiotics, and you're talking about a relationship between things. I'm not talking about the relationship at all. I'm talking about the raw physical facts of the universe.
Okay, I'm assuming that we have to. I'm almost done. Okay, go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry, just real quick. I just wanted to say, because Jerry kind of fleshed out what he was talking about. What he's saying is, in response to what Speed's been saying, is that he believes Speed is calling information something that is actually a property of.
Right. Jerry, I don't believe in properties. Okay.
Okay.
It's bullshit.
Well, that's okay. I feel like my line of questioning would take us down a big conversation that's not suited for today. Because okay. I just really disagree, but I don't think that I'm able to just briefly discuss how I'm disagreeing.
Right, and we're going to have to necessarily talk about my idea of a God's eye view, and how a God's eye view, it's a club. And you never talk about the gods in God's eye view. So the first rule of God's eye view club is you never fucking talk about the gods.
But so when you say a God's eye view club, you mean like an organization, or do you mean something that they beat you over the head with?
No, it's an organization, and I'm the leader. But anyway, you have a God's eye view out here, basically we're looking at physicality, okay? We're looking at the system. We are in this system, and we're also looking at it. And when you confuse those two things, you're going to go in fucking circles with a philosopher forever, Danny. So we have to establish a way to think about things before we start thinking about things and going on and disagreeing. But let's leave that aside for now and get to information. Or wherever you guys
inside of it, or on the outside. Why does that sound familiar? Like
what's that?
No, I'm just figuring like why that sounds familiar to me. Like almost like recently someone made the argument that if you stepped outside of it and looked back at it, that caused like a big row. But anyway, no.
Didn't you make that argument?
Yeah, just never mind midnight. Look, I got to get out of here.
I got to get out of here.
I got to do. But I just wanted to say real quick, going back to what we were talking about a little bit ago, the reason, like, I almost have the hypothesis that I put forward kind of came from my previous knowledge, because all I can think of in that instance where a being presented itself and started performing miracles is Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, where these aliens had come to a planet and presented themselves as the god in their societal mythos, and was tricking them into doing shit. And I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody remembers that episode, but
Devils do. I really enjoyed that episode, and
yeah, Devils do. Yeah.
use it as a reference to that. I also use Deep Space Nine, the Prophets, the Dominion or the Changeling, the Founders. Yeah.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Okay, bye, John.
Bye, John.
Thanks for
I'm
stopping.
having a
in.
stream later tonight.
Hey, Danny and John, thanks for not fucking fighting with each other.
Well, to be honest, I didn't pick up. I didn't really. I don't think. Would you think I was being aggressive towards him last time? I'm not going to argue with you. I just want to know.
I don't think so.
I mean, you were being whatever the fuck John called you.
I can't fucking remember.
Well, you see, a lot of people. When I don't know. I don't see why someone
I
would be
think
licensed.
like the other night. Remember when you had the shitstorm with No Direction? The problem is that when you come into a discussion, you come in loaded and on fire, and some people are misreading you because of that.
I see.
So if you slow down a little bit, and introduce them to you slowly, because there's this initial distrust of anybody that we don't know in this community, I guess.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and if you come in softly, because you present very, very well, and you just got to come in softer. Don't come in on fire.
No, that makes sense, but that's part of the
Someone's
entertainment.
got to put you out.
That's part of the.
I mean,
But I really think that the funny thing is that I ultimately kind of agree with John, right?
Yeah, I know.
With respect to the center of mass and center of the universe, I think
that is the definition of passive aggressive.
Yeah, I don't really even think I'm passive. Well, aggressive, but
No, Danny,
okay.
you weren't aggressive.
I was passive aggressive. No, but like when someone dismisses me, of course, for no good reason. But I don't know if that should be. I do get very passive aggressive towards them. But I think that that's a kind of justice.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do have to be sensitive to your friends, right? And who's close to you, and I'll try to do better with that. Oh, by the way, on the side note, and I'm going to address it with Nikolai or whatever his name is. He mischaracterized me. I do not think Kant is a coherentist, right? So just to clarify, that would be crazy for me to think that Kant was a coherentist. What I did was I invoked Kant to support the idea that there are going to be certain beliefs that are not necessarily foundational, but constitute agency, which is still kind of I would say a coherentist could accept that because they would take these norms or these beliefs or these as not foundational but central to agency. So there's a distinction between foundationalism and, of course, coherentism in the sense that these foundational beliefs are sort of at the bottom, for lack of a better description, and for these sort of beliefs for the coherentists are going to be more at a center rather than at a bottom. If that makes any sense, right?
So I talk about it with him.
Well, I just don't want to be mischaracterized. I never said Kant was a coherentist, and I know that
I can understand that.
I never said that, right? And I think that for him to characterize that way, characterize me that in that way, is to show that either that he was sort of deliberately strawmanning me, or just didn't care enough to listen to me.
I know No Direction. I've known No Directions for 3 years. He doesn't deliver these straw man. If there was a misunderstanding, it was genuine.
He comes. I think he's a little aggressive himself, and he's very, very clear and forward. And you guys just mismatch. And I really felt bad about it because I like both of you so much and respect both of you so much that I just thought, what the fuck?
Well, it's funny. You know how I have nothing against transgender people, right? But I'm about to draw an analogy. What's really funny is that in my social circles, whether it be on the internet or not, transgender people don't get along with each other. I don't know if you've ever. I don't know what it is, or
I know, yeah.
They don't, right? And in the same way, I don't think especially lower level philosophers, like amateur philosophers like me, I would consider myself, I'm not professional in any capacity. We don't get along with each other, right? Professional philosophers do a much better job of not getting so heated and so passive aggressive, right? But what I've noticed is in the same way that transgender people, in my experience, don't get along with each other. I don't get along with a lot of like undergrad philosophers or people that really are interested in philosophy. I don't get along with them, right? And so there's that I think aspect to it that he was coming out as it's kind of like there was a bit of dick measuring, in the sense that like I felt like I was only doing it later on, but he started spewing all this textbook stuff, facts about Kant and all this stuff that I thought was just totally irrelevant, and I kind of got defensive as a result. So it's just the same kind of thing I think between like people that have a kind of amateur interest in philosophy and like transgender people in my experience.
Okay,
Well, if
two
I can add
philosophers
something,
walk into a bar,
what
and
was
and
that?
that was the problem. Is you guys walked into a bar.
Well, no, I mean it's not even just that. If I wanted to add something, people who don't do philosophy talking to you, they're probably gonna think you're pretentious, and in the same analogy, no direction probably thinks you're pretentious because you don't know
Well, I
as
think
much
he's
as them.
highly pretentious too.
Well, everybody's pretentious. Welcome to the club.
Me
Then
too. Me
I mean
too.
I don't think Speed is pretentious at all. I don't know anyone
I
I was
try
else,
to
being
but
be.
I was being sarcastic.
I try to
oh,
be. It,
you
it,
try
it
to be.
is my goal in life to be pretentious.
No, but at second, I mean, like, what really irritates me is that when I say something and I know they don't understand, and then they characterize me as being X Y Z,
I mean, maybe
that's when
I'm
I get very
biased,
aggressive.
but
Well,
yeah,
yeah, because
maybe.
I mean, honestly, and I don't think this is your failure, but I don't think that you understood if you were listening, or if anyone, most people didn't understand what I was saying that night, right? And so then to jump to saying that you're just confounding the problem or making things worse without even knowing what I was saying is very frustrating and irritating.
I was surprised by the whole thing, but I just make peace where you can, and
Yeah, I've
Well, like
noticed that.
today, I didn't antagonize John, right? I mean, I'm
no,
not.
you did a
That's
really
not my.
good job today,
That's
and I
not
was
my. That's I don't. I actually. I mean, I only like I said. I think that if I antagonize someone, there's some. I'm usually I'm the rebuttal or the riposte. All right. I'm not usually the main
I'd
aggressor.
have to look back in the conversation and figure out how that started, but who the fuck cares?
You're right, right. But
You
I
guys
mean,
got along good. And I'll tell you, my right hand is really sore from hovering over the mute button on YouTube today, but I
really?
didn't have to.
By the
I
way,
didn't
I'm
know
having
that.
a stream at 7.
I didn't
Anyone's
have to.
interested?
Anyway, so Otangelo just posted a paper where he has like definitive proof that it's intelligently designed, and he's reading a fucking introduction. And Otangelo, we told you over and over again in the introduction what the scientist says. He states the problem, and you guys keep printing just the problem. Okay, you got to look at the rest of the goddamn thing and find out what they're talking about. But if you don't look at the rest of the thing, then fuck you, right? I mean, there's
Wow,
more to
Speed.
this paper than just the. Oh, was I pretentious or aggressive?
No, no, you were like, you were. I don't know what the fuck you were. I'm just saying, wow,
I
because
was right
Otangelo.
fucking on, is what I was.
Okay, okay, what? Okay, I wouldn't know how the fuck this paper proves intelligent design.
Because it says in the introduction that one of the most profound open questions in biology is how the genetic code was established. Yes, yes, that is a fucking problem. We work on problems. That's what science does.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I
hey,
don't think
Andrew.
Otangelo is going to be a person that I'm able to make any progress with. That there's
No,
very few people that I can't make any progress with. And Otangelo is one of them. I don't
right.
think I could.
I'm better at text.
I can't text. I cannot do that because people
Yeah.
can dodge what I'm saying or just change the subject too easily, and I can just
I mean, they could do that in voice too.
no,
So I
not
mean,
I don't let them. I'm very
well,
good at
why
pressing
can't
someone.
you? Well, why can't you do the same thing in text?
Well, because there's more opportunity in between the
Yeah,
intervals of
text is
time to
hard.
ignore.
Text is hard.
Yeah, text is very difficult for me. Look, I'm not even saying that there's like some fact of the matter about which is harder or easier. I'm just saying what's harder for me, right? Maybe you might be much better at it. I can't. I can. It's hard for me to press someone over a chat. I can't. I can only press someone on voice chat. That's
Wait, hold
what I
on.
know how to do.
I wanna address something with John. What John said here. If people don't understand an explanation of something, is that necessarily a shortcoming of the listener? It can be.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily because
But
you could
hold
fail.
on. I was.
Okay, if you're better equipped to answer the question.
I was trying to explain that it can be if you're talking to somebody about quantum mechanics that doesn't know about quantum mechanics. You can explain it. You can explain it the most simple way you can without without sounding arrogant about it. But if people still don't understand what the fuck you're talking about,
If
you know what
somebody
I mean?
comes to the table and they claim to be a quantum physicist, and then they can't have a conversation with you or don't understand what the hell you're saying, and it becomes clear that they're not quantum physicists
Exactly.
representing themselves, then you got a problem.
Yeah, but also I can fail with respect to my communication, and I would be blameworthy for that, right? You know,
I
like
do
there are
that
plenty,
all
there
the
are plenty of times where I don't explain things well and they don't understand, and I think that's my fault, right? So just because they don't understand, there's an open
Jesus
question as to whose
Christ,
fault it is.
Otangelo, you give me a fucking headache.
And Jerry says, even though we have put so many resources into this cancer problem, we still can't fix it because the cell is a puddle of mud. The interesting thing about cancer is, let me see if you can follow my intuition on this, is that cancer is something where mutations happen and things go horribly wrong, right? But cancer fucking survives. Cancer thrives. Cancer is like this mutation that goes horribly wrong and then eats your entire body, eats all of your resources. I mean, cancer is incredibly powerful as an organism.
But
And
here's something.
disease.
Hold on. Here's something I always found interesting. Right, cancer dies when you die, but for some fucking reason, there are cells out there that never fucking died after they became cancer.
Yeah.
That's what?
Yeah, I think some of them are cancer cells. So
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'm talking about the what the fuck is her name? There was a big
uh,
ethical.
Helen. Jesus, I think.
what the fuck are this? Oh shit! What
Are you talking about the HeLa cells?
Yeah, Gila.
Yeah,
Gila cells. Yeah.
Helen Wax. I forget now the exact name.
Well, yeah, but the point is, for some fucking reason, those cells managed to survive even though the host is dead.
1,300-year lack of chain of custody. Awesome. Yeah, they fucked up that investigation. So Otangelo's going off on his tangent now. So
yeah, I don't care.
can I go eat dip now?
What?
Can you? Yeah, Henrietta Lacks.
Huh? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah, relax. Me and Immutable will handle this.
So yesterday I was supposed to make the dip, and I ended up making about 14 pounds of dip, as I do.
Damn, 14 pounds? Why?
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. I started out making a small pot of soup, and I end up with this fucking 5 gallons of soup. I cook for armies.
Wait. In that case, we should as well expect to find green swans that lay golden
Fabergé
eggs with diamond ornaments.
They use Bulgarian designer. Well, we have you looked, Otangelo? Have you looked? Have you looked everywhere?
And if you haven't found some yet, have you asked your God to magic them into existence?
Yeah, magic. Yeah, maybe God will magic them into existence.
Otangelo, you make me hate humanity.
Oh my God, Stanley's here.
Oh no!
Oh, he is. Stanley's here.
It's a new year.
Oh God, he's still fucking alive. God damn it.
Wait, hold on. Is his name actually Standing? Oh, Stanley? Or
no?
Yeah, Stanley is my son. I named him that when he was a young, very, very young boy.
Oh, hey, Stanley, we haven't talked in a while. Tonight I'll be hosting a stream if you want to stop by. I haven't had one in a while.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know the backstory or not, but when Stanley was a little boy, I went out to get his mom ice cream, and I met Gavin Hurleman, and he was so fucking hot that I ran off with him. I abandoned Stanley.
Now, that's creative.
Damn it! Where's my phone? Where's my phone?
That's creative.
I don't know who that was. Anyway, my phone was on my computer. Yeah, but that's what happened. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, look. Oh, really?
Oh, he's got his link to his book. We got to, okay. But I told you, you got to send me a PDF or I'm not buying it this time. You're not getting any more money from me until you send me that PDF.
By the way, like I said, Standing, I'm doing a stream tonight if you want to drop by.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I figured, new year, new stream.
What time are you doing it?
7.
I wouldn't mind dropping by.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do that.
That'd be 6 CST for you, Speed. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because there's only one time zone.
Yeah.
No, there's 20 time zones.
No, there's only one and it's Central. Why do you think they call it Central? Okay, it's the fucking center of time.
Yeah, but then there are others.
No.
Yes.
You can have east of center, you can have west of center, you can have north of center.
Exactly.
I gotta mute him. Okay, guys. Good discussion. Fuck.
Yep.
It was all right. I've got 20 tabs on biosemiotics from just kicking things around from Otangelo this morning.
Wow.
Now, I want to ask you guys, all of you, do you know a guy named Upright Biped?
Nope.
Okay.
Is that a euphemism for something?
What's that?
Is that a euphemism for something?
No. This guy is he's an intelligent designer. He created a site called biosemiosis.org, and he abandoned it. So Otangelo linked it on the Wayback Machine. And I want to find out who Upright Biped is, because he's been all over. He's been on all sorts of comment streams, but I don't know what his backstory is. So I want to know more about him. So
Who knows?
but anyway, I'm looking into that, among other things. So I shall link Otangelo's paper here in the description. Anyway, so what else you guys want to do, or can we go away now?
I mean, if
I
you're
had
gonna
a
end the stream,
What's that? You got something, Andrew?
Oh, would it? Oh, can you guys hear me?
We can.
no, I mean, yes.
Okay. Would it be possible to get either Standing or Otangelo in?
Oh yeah, we can invite them and see if they want to come in.
Because I tried to email Standing yesterday, and I want to see if he can address the question. I don't know. I feel like, because I kind of missed the whole discussion earlier.
Okay, Stanley has a whole bag of excuses about why he can't come into my channel. So let's
What
see
was the
which one he
question?
pulls out.
What was the question that you were going to ask?
Oh, it's a question about defining information.
Oh, okay.
Oh, who's in here? I can't see over the highlight.
Oh, Otangelo.
Otangelo's in.
Let me see if I can get rid of the highlight. Okay, so Stan, let's see. I got your email. I was out all day. I'll email you back. So what's your excuse, Standing? Why can't you come in right now? I want to see what your excuse of the day is.
I mean, the excuse of the day is that he can't come in. That's just his excuse.
Excuse of the day.
Love you,
Uh-huh.
Standing.
At least he saw it. At least.
I love you, son. I'm sorry.
I've never been at your stream at your channel, Speed.
What's
I've
that?
I've never seen Standing for Truth at your channel. Has he been at your channel?
Oh yeah, about 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And he got his ass kicked so badly that he's afraid to come back. So
We have questions and we haven't found answers yet. So
Yeah.
What are questions? What are answers? I don't know.
what are they? We just so happen to have a philosopher in the crowd, man. He could probably.
Okay.
I get philosopher shit a lot, but I love philosophy actually. I started loving it when I was a teenager, and then I got into like nihilism and fucking uncertainty, and then I switched over to Buddhism and I started making fun of philosophers. Well, I didn't make fun of them. When somebody told me they were a philosophy major, I would give them the number for suicide hotline. And then about 2004, when I started getting heavily into neuroscience, I ended up in the philosophy of the mind. and I developed a new love for philosophy. So that's kind of the story of my life.
I've always been a philosopher at heart since I was younger.
Yep. Well, in fact, my first philosophy book was these aphorisms by the fuck is his name? Anyway, hang on a second. You guys go on.
Oh no, we want to hear about your old experiences and.
Okay, John Fowles, the Aristos. He wrote a book of philosophy, like just these aphorisms on philosophy. And when I was really young, I got this notebook and I decided I was going to be a philosopher, and I wrote all these really naive things. But anyway, I ordered the book the other day and I got it, even though I'm not supposed to be buying books.
What is the name of it?
It's called The Aristos by John Fowles.
By the way, do you not have a library you can go to? Like, stop buying books, man. Shit, even I need to save money.
Yeah, but the fucking library, they get mad at me when I don't bring the books back, and that pisses me off. And then they send me bills, and they have a wanted poster in the Hennepin County Library System with my face on it, and I don't understand why they treat me that way.
Because a library is government run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, it's fucking government plot. I knew it.
I said run, not plot.
Plot, government plot. The library is a government plot. That's what I read.
Forget it. Screw you. Go make your dip.
Gotcha. Let me see if I can get rid of my stop screen. Start cam. There it is. I had that when I was pretty young, probably about 13, 14. And it's just, just a bunch of crap that he just writes. And I thought it was cool.
Wait, what crap? Can you show me the book?
I just showed you the goddamn book.
I wasn't looking at it, the goddamn book, the Aristos.
I put it in chat.
Okay.
He wrote something that got turned into a movie called The Collector. It was about a guy that kidnapped a girl and kept her held.
Oh yeah, I loved that book. I gotta read it again.
That's John Fowles, and he also he wrote The Magus, which is a weird Greek tragedy or romance. It's pretty cool.
The Aristos, John Fowles.
John Fowles. Anyway, so what else is up, guys? So Otangelo, I don't think you properly addressed my last question that I asked you.
I mean,
which one? Let me see here.
Hardcover 700.
I asked you why the people that are involved in biosemiotics today, like Barbieri and Wills and all those guys, don't agree with you on intelligent design.
Have you seen my answer in the
Your answer?
Yes, I answered it.
But it was way too long.
Oh. Oh.
You got to be briefer, I have the attention span of a gnat. Let me see here. Where'd you reply to me? The last reply. I see. Okay. Was that because they applied methodological naturalism to historical sciences? I guess you did answer me. I'm sorry. Which is arbitrary and unjustified. Why is methodological naturalism unjustified when we're talking about understanding biology?
Well, it depends. If you apply it to operational science, then it's okay, because you can, of course, only seek for natural explanations in regards of how biology works. But when it comes to historical science, to questions about how things came to be in the past, then you require to permit the evidence to lead wherever it is, and you have to put all possible explanations on the table without excluding any of the possible explanations a priori. And that is what is happening when you apply methodological naturalism to historical sciences, because there you exclude design a priori, and it is not permitted to to be a possible explanation of things that we see in biology, and which we required explanation how these things came to be.
Okay, so if you go out in your garage and your car is missing, what do you apply? What do you use? You automatically go to intelligent design, or do
Yes.
you? Okay.
Well,
Maybe
the basic thing, Speed, is that even if intelligent design or eventually a supernatural event made the car missing is extremely unlikely and not a plausible explanation, it is nonetheless a
Right.
possible explanation.
Okay, so if you go out in your backyard and your retaining wall is collapsing, use methodological naturalism to fix it, right? Why would you go to intelligent design for that? Why would you think that the guy that stole your car did it?
As I said, you have to make an important distinction here. When it is in regards of operational science, then you just look for natural mechanisms which are operating in nature, and that's okay.
But don't we look at natural mechanisms first, and then we go to intelligent design if we can't find any?
Well, I don't think that
nobody's ruling it out.
I think that what we see in nature is that natural forces are in operation. So it is okay that we say, let's just look about how a protein works naturally. That's okay. But when it comes in regards of origins, then it is an entirely different question, because then you have to ask, how did things in the past come to be? And then you have to put all the possible explanations on the table without excluding any. And that's what science is doing.
No, they do not exclude they don't exclude intelligent design. It's just that intelligent design is too easy. Because okay, if it's intelligently designed, then that's it. It's magic. You understand that is magic that you're talking about, right?
Well, this is a common talking point to say that it is magic, but
okay, wait a minute.
Way more magic it would be if you propose that absolutely no mechanism instantiated the physical universe.
That's what you're proposing, that no mechanism did it. You said God.
No. I'm saying God did it. And what do you have?
Which is the same thing as saying it just happened by magic.
What do you have, Speed? What is your mechanism?
Chemistry, biology.
No. I am saying about the entire reality and the physical universe. What is your mechanism?
The laws of nature.
The laws of physics, they were not there.
Yeah, they are.
What?
You are aware that the laws of physics, chemistry, biology, et cetera, are
they
just
were not
the beginning
there.
of life or the beginning of the universe.
You had nothing physical. The laws of physics, they did not simply wait somewhere they didn't wait somewhere in a non-physical space in order the physical universe to come into being and then to be obeyed.
Right. Okay, you're aware that the natural laws, though, are descriptions, right?
Yes, they are descriptions, but they are also laws upon which the physical universe operates and works. So you have to ask, why is that so?
The question of why in science is a worthless question, right? And the reason it's a worthless question is because when you ask a question like why, right, there has to be a mechanism, there has to be a means in which you can assert the truth of it.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Wait, isn't science in the business of explanation?
Yeah, but we can't like
the issue with questions.
Okay, you see how he moved the goalposts from abiogenesis right to the beginning of the universe?
Right. But to get back to the point real quickly, the issue with questions like why, for instance, is that they are meta-theories.
No, what are you talking? No, that's not true at all. I mean, I might agree with you with Otangelo is spewing nonsense as well, but that, whatever your reply is, to say that why questions are all meta questions of some sort? Wait, why does the sun why does the Earth revolve around the sun? Isn't
Okay,
that
I can also ask how.
Right. Why and
how is
how
it-
are different questions.
Okay.
How the questions of how we can instigate a mechanism to do it.
Okay.
The question of
So
why, though,
how? Okay, so let's move to how. How is it explainable that the physical laws are actually
what turns on that
dictating-
question on Otangelo? Nothing turns on that question. If he doesn't know what explains why the laws and theories are the way they are, what turns on that?
Okay, first of all, we need to point out something here. The laws of physics, they dictate how the physical world operates in an orderly manner. That is a fact, an undisputed fact.
No one's disputing that.
Okay, so we have to ask, why is that the case? Or
Why?
how
Why is it that we have to ask
or-
that question?
Or how
Answer
is
that
it-
question. Why is it that we have to ask
Otangelo.
why if they could just be brute?
Otangelo, why is it the case
That's not-
that when we
that's
have an
not an answer.
explanation,
No, I think you should look. He's a. It's if it's why couldn't it be brute on Tangelo?
Why should they?
What you're shifting the goalpost, right? Look, you're demanding that there's an explanation, but that's a loaded question because I may not think that there's an explanation for why there's the laws of physics the way they are, or why they're constituted in the way they are, right?
Yeah, so you remain basically a nihilist, which has no explanation.
No, there
No.
are just because you're committed to brute contingencies doesn't make you a nihilist.
Otangelo, what it means essentially is that when we say something is brute, it means that, in a sense, right, there is no further level you can dive into the question, right? In the case of, like, molecular theories, like, of interactions, right? The atom is the most fundamental, like, the atom and what constitutes it, being protons, neutrons, and electrons, typically, are what governs molecular interactions. Asking anything beyond that question is nonsensical.
No, it's not. We can.
No,
ask
it's
what
not.
governs
It's,
atoms.
well, it's sensical, but I'm just saying that why should we be committed to saying that there's an intentional explanation for the way the laws of physics are, versus just saying that they're brute? And he's not going to provide an argument.
I can.
There's no argument for that.
Well,
Okay,
there
what's
is
the
one.
argument for
I
why
can
they
provide
must
it to
be
you.
explained rather than brute?
Okay, I can give you a syllogism here. The laws of physics are immutable, absolute, eternal, perfect, mathematical.
That's not true. No, I reject that first premise. That
Wow.
first premise is not
Wow.
true.
Hold on.
Okay, can I make the syllogism and then you can criticize
Why would
it?
Why would we continue if I disagree with the first premise?
Fellas,
No,
please.
let me try and entertain this for a few minutes.
No, you're. I don't know. No, it's okay, fine. I don't think you've been answering pretty poorly though, yourself.
I'm answering from my own background scientifically. I'm not interested in terms
Well,
of.
you just said that science is not in the business of the why questions.
It isn't.
Well,
Okay, so why does the Earth revolve around the sun is not an intelligible question?
It isn't an intelligible question.
Okay,
Ask-
well then that seems a contradiction on your view.
No. Asking how. something
That's
is-
not what you said earlier.
No, I
So
didn't.
if I ask why there is an
Thank you.
ATP synthase in the cell, that is not a question that we can ask, immutable?
okay, Danny, you're
When you ask-
mistaken. Why for how?
When you
Well,
ask,
but he said right.
When you
There's
ask
no sensical. It's not a sensical question to ask why in science when that's just clearly demonstrably false.
That's what molecular biologists do all the time. When they see a protein, they ask, why is that protein there? What is its function? What does it do in the cell?
Okay,
what they're actually asking is how, right?
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
only how, it's why, what is its function?
He's responding to the thing that creationists and religious people come up with all the time. That why do we exist, or why is whatever.
Oh, that's a
Those
philosophical
kinds of why
question. which
questions.
is
There are
not
two
only
there are two kinds of
creationism.
why questions. He didn't make that delineation, right? He just said why
That's what he-
simpliciter.
Danny, that's what he meant because I know him, and that's what he.
Okay,
meant.
so but then
Let
what
it
he's saying is
go,
trivial.
Let it go and move on. Move back to the.
In what way is it trivial?
Because you're just saying that why as a metaphysical question doesn't apply to science, but that's just necessarily follows. That's a tautology. What you're saying then is that why understood non-scientifically is not a scientific question.
That's correct, because
Well,
science
that's like
doesn't
saying a
address-
closed door is closed.
You're
Okay,
talking
the
about
thing
how,
is,
you're not talking about why.
science-
You're talking about how.
right. The
There's
thing
a
is-
difference. There's a deeper why question that's kind of underlies where Otangelo is going with this. Why are the laws of the universe like they are? And it's like,
But
you could turn that into a bunch of how statements or how questions. But we're arguing over fucking semantics.
But the
between
proper
word,
response to
why,
that
and-
is,
hang on
what's
a
the
second.
argument? Not that the... Go ahead.
Okay, quit arguing over the semantics of why and how for now, because it has nothing to do with the discussion we were having with Otangelo. Let it go. Let it go.
All I was saying was that it's not an appropriate response to what Otangelo was saying.
Okay, now this is where you got into trouble with John the other day, and probably Nicola. You gotta let go.
Exactly. Let it go.
Okay, well,
There you
since
go.
this is not my room, I'll let it go. But I'm still sticking to what I think about the
Okay.
response.
I mean,
Noted.
I mean,
we have that
to
discussion.
get back to the point of Otangelo's statement, and to also address Danny at the same time, science's goal isn't an attempt to explain, isn't to act as a meta theory of how or why reality.
Oh my God! No, you're not going to let it go.
No, science just provides a description of the
Fuck you
natural.
both.
It doesn't go any further as to, trying to.
Immutable. The quest of origins is not only restricted to scientific explanations. I
Sure.
use
I agree.
theology. I use theology, philosophy, and science.
Oh, sure,
in
I
order
agree with
to
you.
come in order to come to my answers, which I stick to.
Sure.
So
My thing is that if you want to invoke an intelligent design as certain explanations, feel free. But the thing is, you can't do that with the origin of life. And part of that, like this whole thing about scientists exclude particular explanations, like discount immediately explanations of an intelligent designer. No, we don't.
yes,
this is
yes,
BS.
that's the
I'm always
foundation.
looking.
That's
I'm always
the
looking for that.
foundation of science for 150 years.
No, it isn't. Why-
Yes, it is.
Otangelo, if that's the case, why are ID theorists within scientific communities allowed to create scientific conjectures that are consistent with ID theory?
They aren't.
They are.
No, they are not.
Yes, Douglas Axe several years ago made a falsifiable prediction about genomic content and about what something would look like, in his view, if it were intelligently designed.
Oh no!
Was he permitted?
One of the first people.
Was he permitted in his science paper to propose God as the most case adequate explanation?
He was allowed by the scientific community to put forth a testable idea by which, if it were confirmed, one could conclude that an intelligent designer is likely. And his prediction was overturned. It was shown to be false by data.
Okay,
The
here's,
one with proteins, with the sequence space of proteins.
okay.
with,
This
the,
goes.
with the information contained within the genetic code. His
This
prediction, if memory
That has
serves,
not been overturned by no means.
yes, it has, because
No.
his prediction
No.
is that
No.
his prediction was that
You
if
should
the
just
genetic-
stick to his claim and ask him for the argument of his claim that scientific or natural laws have to be explained by some non-natural intentional explanation. Just ask him to provide the argument and be critical of the first premise. This is a rabbit hole.
It's always a rabbit hole with ideas, but
Well,
sure.
you need to control the conversation.
Yeah,
I'm fine allowing the conversation to take whatever direction it
Well,
wants.
I have no idea what your goal
We'll
is,
go back to the
other
same
than
way.
just to have fun. But you're not going to press on Tangelo if that you're just going to have fun.
okay. Back
thing
to the statement.
Oh, immutable
Otangelo.
just wants to have fun.
Immutable, Otangelo. Back to the statement. In most cases, they never get it and die with their lifelong held belief, despite being wrong. So Otangelo's whole point is here that we don't believe in God, so we're not giving them any room in this discussion, right? So we're not allowing for the possibility that God did it. Okay, that's his point. And
Yeah.
and don't go down into the details about something particular. Talk about this general thing. Like a rare case is Anthony flu in the last half of the 20th century, he got senile and he started believing in God. This is just all bullshit, Otangelo. There are none of us that would deny magic if we saw it.
Let's cut to the
Well,
chase.
is that your standard of becoming a believer, that you actually see God being proven to you, that he shows up? Is that standard of proof that you require, Speed?
Look, you made the claim that natural laws require explanation. What's the argument?
Sorry, guys.
Well, I was trying to make the argument that I was interrupted.
There was something wrong with the first premise. You don't really care that there's something wrong with the first premise? You just want to proceed with the argument?
Okay, so what is wrong with the first
The
premise?
idea of immutable, meaning, and you assign certain properties to these natural laws, right? And which I don't agree with, including...
Okay, so let's suppose they are not immutable.
No, there were other properties that were problematic.
Well, first of all, are there physical laws dictating how the physical world behaves? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so they require explanation. Why are they?
Why is it the case, Otangelo, that these things, which are fundamental to the interaction of everything else in the universe, must have an explanation?
Well, why is it so? Why couldn't?
No, Otangelo, you're the person making the claim that these things must have an explanation. Why? Please give me a reason why these things, which are fundamental to the rest of reality, require an explanation.
Well, it could well be that there would be simply nothing by now.
Sure, but that's not an explanation of why these things...
It's a non-answer he just gave. He didn't provide an argument. Ask him for the argument, right? And you did. You're doing well. Like, I don't mean to be condescending, but look, you need to provide an argument, Otangelo, right? Saying one sentence like that or asking a question is not an argument.
Well, it is difficult for me to go forward if I am constantly being interrupted. I'm trying to make a little bit...
Otangelo, the first thing you said... Otangelo, the first thing you said when we asked you that question is why you have to give an explanation. And the short answer is because you're the one insisting that it must be true. You're the one that's trying to force us to give an explanation of why...
I am not claiming that... I am not making absolute claims here, immutable. What I am saying...
That means that it could be brute. If you're not making a necessary claim, it could be brute.
Otangelo, the point of contention that spurred this whole thing was me saying that the natural laws of nature that exist are brute facts. And you objected sternly to that by saying that they must have an explanation. So no, you are the one arguing that there must be something else that explains the laws of nature. I would like that argument.
Okay, I can quote you Paul Davies. He says, "The universe obeys mathematical laws. They are like a hidden subtext in nature. Science reveals that there is a coherent scheme of things, but scientists do not necessarily interpret that as evidence for meaning or purpose in the universe." So I ask, the only rational explanation is, however, that God created this coherent scheme of things, since there is no other alternative explanation. That's why atheists, rather than admit that...
That begs the question.
Otangelo, what you just cited, essentially, to skip beyond to go through what it's saying, is saying what we do in science is we describe mathematical laws for certain things, be that biology, be it physics, be it whatever, right? And these mathematical laws describe a certain set of objects and their behavior. How does that say anything about if they were designed or if they were not?
Well, the question here is that if they would not be there, there would be no physical matter.
That's
there
fine,
would be simply
Otangelo.
nothing.
Otangelo, can we agree that any universe that can potentially exist will have mathematical laws that describe the objects in that universe?
It's necessary.
Right, but what about those mathematical equations indicates to us strictly whether or not that system has been designed or not?
Well, I can quote here, the physical universe and the laws of physics are interdependent and irreducible. There would not be one without the other.
Right,
So
right, but by virtue of the first premise we just went over, Otangelo, those laws are also consistent with just being descriptions of that world, right? There's nothing yet that's concluded
how
about
can
the
you
necessity of those
describe something if it is not there, if it is not instantiated?
laws. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, answer my question. How can you describe something or observe something if it is not real and it is not
No one
there?
is disputing that they're not. No one's
Okay,
disputing that
so
they're
they are
that
there.
natural
No one-
laws, right?
So
That
they are there.
no one's
So-
disputing them, but you're claiming that they must not be brute facts. Now, what's the argument?
Otangelo, nobody is arguing against the point that certain things exist. But that's not the problem here. The problem is you're saying that the laws of nature, which we call brute facts, cannot be brute facts, that they must have some explanation. And there hasn't been an explanation for why that is.
Well, we have to dig deeper here, Immutable, and ask really the more philosophical questions. Why is there something rather than nothing?
You're changing the subject. You're
Okay,
changing the subject.
No, it's not. But let me ask the question you should be asking, Otangelo. Is that if we did not have laws that govern the behavior of, say, electromagnetic particles, right? So particles that exhibit electric charge and generate electric fields, would that in any way, shape, or form negate the existence of entities that have electric fields and electric charges?
No, if it is observed, then it's there.
Good, but that's exactly my point, right? The fact that we have a description of something, right? Be it the laws that govern electromagnetic behavior, aren't a requirement for electromagnetic particles to interact and to behave.
Well,
right?
that's contentious.
Okay, I can quote
Those
here
laws-
Robin Collins.
Because they
He
want to
says-
say that natural laws explain uniformity and regularity with respect to behavior. That without these laws, that things could have been very well otherwise. There wouldn't be anything called physical possibility. You want to say that ultimately these laws explain the uniformity of nature. Now, the question.
So I agree with your point, but the difference is that the fact that it explains something is a property of sufficiency, not a property of necessity.
I don't understand what that means. What does sufficient and necessary conditions have to do with this? Necessary and sufficient conditions for what?
The fact we have laws, for instance, that govern electromagnetic behavior is sufficient to describe that behavior, right? It's sufficient to describe the interactions that electric particles have with one another. But by no means is it necessary.
It is necessary. It is necessary if you're describing regularity.
If you don't have them, then you will not have the universe. And I would like to quote here Robin Collins. He says, first, there is the fine-tuning of the laws of nature. Second is the fine-tuning what scientists call the constants of physics. And third, the fine-tuning of what they call the initial conditions of the universe. So he makes the point here that also the laws of nature are finely tuned. And that also requires an explanation.
No, it doesn't. What's the argument for that? What's the argument for that?
Let me ask a question in this case, which is, if there are other universes and if the laws of physics are different in those other universes to produce different structures, would you not also argue that the laws of physics in those other universes are fine-tuned for those structures?
Well, the thing is that whatever universe that you propose, Immutable, it has to be finely tuned, like the expansion rate of the universe has to be finely tuned. So that also requires an explanation.
Okay, the issue, Otangelo, the issue, and I don't think you recognize it, is that if you say that all universes and the structures they produce are finely tuned, right? Essentially, that argues that nothing is finely tuned, because it's a tautological statement. It's saying that the laws of physics that produce those structures, right? It does nothing in the way of trying to explain why those structures are necessary for those things to form.
That's what I'm asking you. Why is that state of affairs as it is? It could simply be, there could simply be no universe at all.
Sure, I don't see that as a sensical question, right?
Of course it is. It is sensical. That is one of the most fundamental philosophical questions, Immutable. Why is there something rather than nothing?
No,
Right.
no. The most fundamental is it's why is there God?
No, I mean
that's the most fundamental, right?
I don't. The thing is, right?
I mean, I would argue that the
view,
most fundamental is the one in the many.
The thing is, I don't see that question as being sensical in the respect that the thing is, I only understand logic as it pertains to my particular universe, right? And as it pertains to the types of laws and regularities that occur within my own universe, right? So why is there a need to try and explain why this type of thing is special compared to other systems when I don't know how those other systems behave?
Because the universe and also the laws of physics, as Robin Collins points out, they are finely tuned, they are adjusted, they are just right, and that demands an explanation.
How do you... Okay. The thing is, though, it seems to ignore the argument I just made, right? If I have another universe, right, and there's structures in that universe, naturally you would conclude that those laws of nature are finely tuned for the types of structures that exist in that other universe. But that does nothing in terms of explaining the actual fine-tuning, right? What something means for fine-tuning has to be, I would say, and I mean, I get in trouble with just saying this with certain theorists, is that number one, is that type of theory has to be a meta theory. Is that's a theory that probably is outside of the grasp of natural laws, right? And the type of theory that's even potentially able to explain that, I would say, is something like string theory.
The fact that the universe is finely tuned is not a natural law. It is what has been observed by science, and that demands an explanation. And you have basically two or three explanations here. One is that there is a fine tuner which tuned them. The other is that it is a physical necessity, and the third is that it is just random luck. So
no, I disagree with the third one. The third one I think more properly is the statement of the anthropic principle.
Well, the point is not which one you disagree with. The point
no, it is.
Let me finish, Immutable. The point is that I am pointing out what the possible explanations are, and if you have another one, you can mention it. But I see here as possible explanation of the fine tuning, which we know is a fact. One is that there is a fine tuner. The other would be there are multiple universes. That's a very common explanation. And one, by chance, is the right one, which was finely tuned. There were infinite attempts there was a universe generator, and one by luck got the constants and the fine tuning right and generated our universe. And the third is that it is a brute fact, as you said, or that is a physical necessity. But I don't know how that could be the case.
Well, you're making the claim that that's the only way it could be, that it's an intentional explanation, right?
I think the statement of the anthropic principle sums up perfectly why it is. And the anthropic principle
that's a tautological argument. That is a red herring where you put the explanation in the beginning.
I haven't made my argument yet, but the anthropic principle essentially states that the laws of nature is that the conditions of the universe, which essentially is referring to the laws of nature, the laws of nature which are sufficient to produce structures, will produce those structures, and those that don't produce complex structures don't.
That's a tautology. You've not explained where the fine tuning comes from.
The thing is, I don't know, given the current state of science and the current state of explanations, if you can do anything.
It's a philosophical question, Immutable.
Damn it, Otangelo, I'm trying to talk and you're interrupting me, and you don't like when I do that.
I don't see why you just press him on the same question.
Otangelo,
He's arguing. He's making the claim, right? You're not making the claim. You're not making the claim, Immutable. He's making the claim.
No, I agree. And the thing is, my point has been, the best we seem to be able to do is to be able to say that whatever fine tuning occurs in the universe can only be in relation in terms of describing structures in the universe. We can't make any statement about the necessity of those things, right?
We can.
No, we can't.
We can.
Why not just press him on the claim? Now, Otangelo, why is it that you think that it has to be an intentional explanation rather than a brute fact with respect to physical laws? What's the argument?
Otangelo, okay. And the more rigorous version of that question is, why are certain things required to have the fine-tuning that they do, right? What physical theory explains that?
No, I don't know what that. Just answer the former question.
I can give you here a quote from Paul Davies. There is not a shred of evidence that the universe is logically necessary. Indeed, as a theoretical physicist, I find it rather easy to imagine alternative universes that are logically consistent and therefore equal contenders of reality.
To say that there's not a shred of evidence, right, is just an argument of ignorance.
It's personal incredulity.
No, it is not, because we can...
There is no evidence, therefore it's true?
Okay, guys, it's difficult to have conversation, and
the point you're making, right?
What the hell's difficult about it?
Well, I'm being interrupted all the time.
No, you aren't.
No, you're making false...
Yes, I am.
You're creating false premises.
Well, I am trying to explain. I am trying to substantiate what Paul Davies is saying, and I am not able to because I am being interrupted.
Paul Davies?
Yes.
Who's that?
He's a physicist. He's a fairly well-known physicist who argues that physics provides us with some kind of reasons to believe in God.
Oh, really?
At the moment that you... No. He is an agnostic or an atheist. He is not a believer.
No, but what I said is generally kind of true. He seems to say, if I recall correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he provides arguments that would support a belief in a kind of a deistic God, right?
No.
No?
No.
Hey, Brenda, how are you?
Happy New Year, Danny.
I haven't seen you. I saw you like a week ago, actually.
Yeah, you're not around that much. I don't know why.
Discord has just become the Tasteless show, and I'm just not interested.
You lit into Tasteless the last time, and I'm kind of sympathetic to that.
What did I do to get last time to Tasteless?
The last time I saw you interact with Tasteless is you jumped on his. Oh,
I'm so tired of him. I'm so tired of him.
Yeah.
And they give him a platform. That's like,
it's entertainment. Sorry, Otangelo. Hey, Otangelo. I had indicated some time ago that I would be open to debate you. You're free to email me, and we can set up some sort of time, right? That would be cool with me.
I think I did send you my email, and I don't have yours.
My email is basically my name, BVONAHSEN, bvanasen @gmail.com.
Well, can you put the private chat?
Yeah, I don't know yours because I think I looked on your website or your YouTube channel. I just didn't see one. So
I can hook you two up. I think I have yours.
I just put it in the private chat.
Okay.
My email. So you can write me and we can set up something.
Anybody. I'm open to debating everybody except for Danny, because Danny would kick my ass. So not you, Danny. You're not welcome.
We agree on a lot, though, except that physicalism stuff. That's probably it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still interested in the question that I asked, which is, essentially the core of it, the core of these ID arguments seems to fall upon the following point in the observation of the fine-tuning, if you want to call it that, of our particular universe. But the question is more about fine-tuning as a general process. How can you talk about fine-tuning as a general process if what we're only able to study is one instance of it?
Well, fine-tuning is not a process, it's a state of affairs. We know that the universe and the physical laws and the Earth and the galaxies and of the cosmological constant, there is a whole bunch. Kodata is listing 360 different fine-tuned constants. We know that the universe is finely tuned, and if it would not be so, there would be no advanced life on Earth, and that demands an explanation.
What criteria did you use to decide that the universe is finely tuned?
Well, I can give you the link. There are so many. There are so many science papers out there, and you can study it.
No, I'm okay. So you're not going to answer.
That is not something which is debatable. That is a scientific fact. We know that
that's exactly what I'm debating.
Tuned.
That's exactly what I'm contesting. I'm asking you, by what criteria did you use to decide that the universe is finely tuned?
Well, that I can read to you here. Is fine-tuning real? Yes, it is real, and it is conceded by the top rank of physicists. Okay, Paul Davies. There is now broad agreement among physicists and cosmologists that the universe is in several respects fine-tuned for life. This claim is made on the basis that existence of vital substances such as carbon and the properties of objects such as stable long-lived stars depend rather sensitively on the values of certain physical parameters and on the cosmological initial conditions. And Martin Rees is an atheist and a qualified astronomer, and he wrote a book called Just Six Numbers, The Deep Forces That Shape the Universe. In it, he discusses 6 numbers that need to be finely tuned in order to have a life-permitting universe. And Rees writes here, these 6 numbers constitute a recipe for a universe. Moreover, the outcome is sensitive to their values. If any of them were to be untuned, there would be no stars and no life. Is this tuning just a brute fact or a coincidence? Or is it the providence of a benign creator? There are some atheists who deny the fine-tuning, but these atheists are in firm opposition to the progress of science. The more science has progressed, the more constants, ratios, and quantities we have discovered that need to be fine-tuned.
So it's an argument from authority then?
That's hilarious, Otangelo.
Well, guys, if you deny fine-tuning, there is no discussion here, because I think this is really basic.
That's the crux of the question. I don't know that the universe is fine-tuned. You haven't shown that it is.
Well, I get to the link to study the topic.
Yes, linking to studies doesn't prove things. Arguments do.
Well, study the topic first, and then we can discuss it. I will not teach you about fine-tuning of the universe. If you can read a book.
Yeah, that's just an argument from authority. You need to give an argument, a valid one, not just citing.
Do you want me to give you the formulas? Do you understand the formulas? I don't.
I just want you to provide me with an argument. How do you know that the universe is finely tuned? How does
and if I give you an argument, then you say, it's an argument from authority. What do you want? That I pull it out of my own ass?
I want you to provide an argument. So could
that's what you need to do.
Could God?
I just did. And if you say it's an argument from authority, what do you want? Do you want
that I would like a sound argument? I would like a sound argument rather than an unsound one.
So what is a sound argument for you? That I invent an argument, or what?
One that doesn't
or should I rely to science? If science says the universe is finely tuned, and you say, that's an argument from authority, so what are you looking for? That I invent an argument, or what?
So the claim is, the question would be, how does Paul Davies know that the conditions necessary for life are precisely what this universe? So presumably, could life exist? Could God create life in a universe other than ours?
That's a different question.
No, that is the question.
Well,
Because
you are
if God
moving
could-
the goalpost now, and you are asking a different question.
No, I'm not. Because if God could create life in a universe other than ours, then ours isn't finely tuned for life, is it?
My daughter is crying here. I'm right back.
Yeah. Okay. So the question here would be that, well, basically, I think it's a good argument, which is that God could presumably create life in any universe.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
as long
therefore,
as
therefore,
God
our
cannot
universe,
do impossible
our universe
things.
can't
He
be finely tuned.
God cannot make a square circle. He cannot lie and
How
say
is-
the truth at the
Okay.
same time. So he cannot do illogical things.
In
And
that
if a
case-
requirement in order to have life is that the universe
What's your argument
is
for that?
Okay.
fine-tuned,
I- is it-
that's it.
Okay, Otangelo, if it's we know that the fundamental constants of nature have particular values that they do. Right. So in that case, is it logical to conceive of a universe in which those constants could be different?
Of course.
Good. Then why is it logically impossible for God to act on those laws and change those constants?
He could change them, and then you would have no life-permitting universe. There are simply
Okay.
some things
Well, how do
required
you-
in order to have a life-permitting universe.
Okay, in that case, how do you know that all other possible combinations of the fundamental constants result in universes that do not harbor the potential to have life?
Well, there is a book which explains precisely that immutable, and I can quote it to you if you want.
Yeah, that would be
Why
argument
don't you
from
give us the
authority,
name of the
Otangelo.
book? The name.
So,
name
what
and-
kind of argument are you asking me to make, Brenda?
A sound one. A sound one.
What is a sound one for you?
One that doesn't
What
appeal
I-
to authority.
Okay,
what
so
we need-
either it is from science, which is authority, or I pull it out from my butt. What do you want?
I actually would prefer you pull it out of your ass. Yeah, that would be
great.
an improvement. That would be an improvement
Okay,
because then it would be your
so
own
Brenda,
argument.
you are
and I- No, I'm
disqualified
being
to have.
honest.
No, so
I'm being honest.
you are disqualified to have a serious conversation, Brenda.
No,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
being
I
honest.
will not spend my time to have any further conversation with you because what you are saying is just ridiculous.
So even if you fail at producing a good argument, you pulling it, quote unquote, pulling out of your ass, that means making it up on your own. That would be better than using somebody else's words, because then potentially you could improve it.
Right.
That's what I mean.
The type of thing that's required of you, Otangelo, is to demonstrate why it is that the fundamental constants that we have currently, why the value that they have at this time is an absolute essentiality for life as a general process to be capable of emerging. Right? Providing an argument that can demonstrate why these constants must have the value they do.
Science has given that explanation immutable. If you change the cosmological constant and take a different one rather than the one which is, you will not have any universe whatsoever.
And then we wouldn't be talking about.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, there would be a
But we are.
universe, but it wouldn't be like ours. It would be a universe, but
It would not be a
maybe-
life-permitting universe.
Maybe it would just. That's just begging the question. So maybe it would be
No.
a universe with just particles, like maybe electrons and protons or something like
Yeah.
that.
We
But
would
why
not be
couldn't-
talking here.
Why couldn't God give protons life?
It's the same as asking why is 2 + 2 not 5?
No, it isn't.
To
It isn't
ask
the same.
to ask a very similar variant of that question, Brenda, right? Why is it possible for God to use elements other than carbon to create life? Right. Is it potential that in other universes that different elements, in fact, are the central molecule for creating life and not carbon?
And we know that if you use silicon, you know that immutable, then you cannot have life because they do not form stable macromolecules.
In this other universe, they do form stable. In this other universe, they do form stable compounds.
Then it's not silicon, then it is carbon because that's the molecule.
No, it's not carbon, it's silicon.
Otangelo, the thing we're pointing out is that if you alter the constants of nature, right, you also alter the properties of certain things that exist within that universe. And in this case, right, a particular alteration of those constants may result in a situation where now you have silicon is actually more suitable as an atom that's capable of forming structures that we know carbon does in this world. Right. It could be that changing the fundamental constants causes a change in chemical properties as towards which one could be selected for as the substrate for which life develops using.
Well, that's speculation. You don't know that. I don't know it
right.
either. You don't know that.
Is it logically possible, Otangelo?
Yeah, maybe. It could be.
Therefore, it is something that God could do. Because God can't, I accept that God can't do what is logically impossible. But I would think that he could do anything that is logically possible, unless you have some other argument for that or something. Right? So if it's logically possible, God could do it. Therefore, there could be life in another universe where silicon forms the basis of life. Therefore, this universe is not finely tuned.
But we know that if you change the constants of this universe, you have no universe eventually at all, depending on which constant that you change. If it's the cosmological constant, then you have no universe at all because it would collapse back to the singularity, for example. So if you change the fundamental forces, the four fundamental forces, then you have no life-permitting universe. You have no stars. You have a void universe as well.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that's right. The strong nuclear force holds atoms together. Right. That's why we even have what we call matter at all, is because the strong nuclear force holds things together.
Yeah,
but
you have to go even down to the atomic to the quarks and subatomic level, and there you have fine tuning as well. So everything from the smallest unit, even subatomic particles, to the atoms, to the fundamental forces, everything has to be finely tuned, and that demands an explanation.
So could God?
Hold on a second with the fine tuning. Fine tuning implies a fine tuner, so the language you're using is just way off to begin with. What about brute fact? You would not be talking right now if things weren't as they were in the universe. The physical laws didn't work like they did. How do you know the physical laws? How do you know we're not in a locality in a far greater universe where things don't work that way? How do you know that?
Well, what can be asserted without evidence can be discarded without evidence.
What?
You do not have any evidence to make that claim.
I'm asking you how you know that that's not possible. That we couldn't be living in a locality where where the physical laws just coalesce to the point where it creates intelligent life and we're talking. But outside of that, things go all to hell. Space and time breaks down. Things don't work properly. I mean, there's a huge infinite universe where things do not work, and we happen to be in this locality where it does.
You can make up whatever kind. You can make up whatever scenario you want.
Kind of like God, right? You made up whatever scenario you wanted.
No, It's
No,
different
same
because
thing.
there
Same
are
thing.
no, because there
Same
are
thing.
things which we know that only intelligence can do, which unguided
Well,
random
you don't
errors
know that. That's what
cannot
we're
do.
no. We're talking
Of
about
course.
fine tuning. We're not talking about intelligent design. We're talking about fine tuning of the universe.
Well, fine tuning
And
is
you
an
want to call it
intelligent
fine
design
tuning because
argument.
you want to put in your intelligent design. But I'm saying it just happened to be that way, and we're here and we're talking because it's that way.
That's not an explanation. It's just an
Of
assertion.
course. What do you mean not an explanation? It's a possibility, though.
Well,
Explanation. What do you mean by explanation?
It can be farting pixies. It can be Santa. It can be whatever you want to make up.
Or it could be a
Oh,
natural
Otangelo,
universe that is
Otangelo.
so complicated that it just happens to thrash out this way. So what is the difference between your explanation and mine? Except you
Right.
seem to think that somehow you, this little tiny ape on a speck of dust, is somehow the solution or the explanation for the whole universe. Why do you think that apes like us are in charge of the whole fucking universe, including the infinite universe outside of this particular physicality, this locality? Why do you
can make up whatever you want, Speed? But that's
and
not.
that's what you're doing. You're making up this story that man-like intelligence created everything.
No, I'm not, Speed.
Oh,
I'm
tell me how
starting
you're
with I am starting with the premise, which is scientific, which the universe is fine-tuned for life. That's the premise.
No, it's
And
okay.
that demands an explanation.
I deny your premise. It is not fine-tuned.
Okay, you can do that, but that's not scientific because we
It's
know
not scientific. Why isn't it scientific?
Because we know it's fine-tuned.
How do you know that?
Oh well, I have given the link. Read the information, Speed.
What link?
It's in the private chat here.
You mean Cat's board? You mean Cat's board? You mean your link? You mean what you wrote?
I am putting a lot of
filled
links.
with digging the question.
Well, do you want a direct link? I can give you a direct link.
No, I want you to produce an argument for, like Brenda said, produce an argument, even if you got to pull it out of your butt. We don't care where you pull it, but start arguing for it without saying, "Oh, you need evidence. You need whys. You need me to explain everything back into the multiverse."
I just put you just a link from Codata. They will list 360 fine-tuned.
Oh, bullshit. And most of those are dependent on each other. And if you work it out mathematically, there's about three. It hashes out to about three constants, basically. And they could be different. Why can't they be different in another locality? Why can we not be in a locality in a far greater multiverse where life doesn't work?
Yeah, it can be farting pixies. It can be whatever you want to make up, Speed. But
you're making up farting pixies because that's what God is a fucking farting pixie. So I'm making up things that are actually could mathematically hash out. We don't need a farting pixie.
At this point in time, farting pixies and God are about equivalent in terms of their likelihood to be true.
God is a farting pixie. So instead of saying God from now on, you have to say farting pixie.
Okay, guys. So let's all stick to farting pixies. Is that okay?
Farting pixies intelligently designed the universe.
We've agreed. We are all Zen now. You are a Buddhist, so we are all Zen now. It's farting pixies, guys.
That's fine.
That's cool.
And we are even in agreement with Matt, which also proposes farting pixies.
So what about we don't know?
What about we don't know why the value of the fundamental constants have the value they do? And for that reason, we don't make any claim about there being a fine-tuning process.
I mean, that's how science works. You have something you don't know and you investigate it.
It's a spaghetti monster.
No, Speed. It's farting fucking pixies.
No, farting FFP. Farting fucking pixies. Okay, Otangelo invented something for us here. We're just going to follow him around.
It's farting pixies, guys.
Here we go. Thank you, Otangelo. At least you've produced an argument.
Yeah. So, guys, now you guys have to defend farting pixies.
Oh no, it's you. You're the
Well,
one.
no, I mean, I have to make sure, as someone who's trying to be irrational in my beliefs, I'd like to make sure these things actually exist. I'd
What?
like to I'd like to ascertain that the thing I've assumed exists actually does.
Well,
Because
but
if
Pete
there's
doesn't require that. He made up all kind of scenarios.
the thing is, right, like you were saying earlier, that which can be assumed without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Who
Exactly.
invented?
Yeah.
Who made up all kinds of scenarios?
Well, and
You.
here's the thing,
You
right?
did.
Here's the thing, is that if there's no reason to propose a farting pixie that, or some collection of farting pixies that created the universe, yet for some reason the argument I used to generate that conclusion seems to disagree with it, then that seems to indicate that one of the premises I used in my argument was wrong. And in this case, I think I'll go after the fine-tuning one. Because the fine-tuning argument that's been made has been made in particular with regards to our universe and what we conceive to be fundamental constants. By our own admission, we don't know if there's a process that allows these fundamental constants to have the particular interaction they do, or if those things could be different. Certainly, we've argued that logically it's conceivable for them to be different, but we don't know. So it could be that the fine-tuning isn't as fine of a process as we're asserting it. Or it's not a fine-tuned process at all, that the value of these constants happen to just be sufficient for life to develop.
Crickets?
I don't hear any disagreement, so I guess Otangelo is now an atheist.
Well, you feel free, Mutable, to remain agnostic in regards of the issue. I have a cumulative case which starts with the origin of the universe, which goes to the laws of physics, to the fine-tuning, and the origin
We've just gone through the fine-tuning, Otangelo, and we just went through the fine-tuning, Otangelo, and given your lack of objection, I think it's reasonable to say that the fine-tuning case hasn't been substantiated.
Of course it has. There is so much. I just quoted you Martin Rees and Davis. I have the link which you can read. I mean, if you are even questioning if fine-tuning is a scientific fact, immutable, then I suggest that you actually go and read the relevant literature in regards to the topic, and then we can have actually a meaningful discussion. Because starting to try to spoon feed you in regards of why the fine-tuning argument is sound, that's something which I'm not going to do.
Hold on a second here. Wait. Immutable is fine-tuning like some sort of physical theory?
It could be described. It could be described in terms of a mathematical theory, such as string theory, for instance.
Well, have they done that yet? Have they derived fine-tuning?
It's a work in progress. It's not.
They figured out how everything is tuned. Okay.
There's the potential that such a theory could be described mathematically, although I'm reluctant to say that that's a physical theory, because so far string theory has had no has had no evidence that experimentally validates it.
So, a few questions. If the Earth is not in a specific range of distance from the sun, is then life still possible on Earth?
We know all that shit. Okay.
Sure. Okay. So that's fine-tuning.
Well, sure.
No, I mean,
okay. What tuned it?
So are you questioning that? What tuned it? Requires to have in a specific range of distance from the sun? Are we questioning this, or that the moon?
Yeah, I actually am questioning it.
Otangelo, what tuned it?
I'll question it, and for the reason that, for instance, certain moons of Jupiter, for instance, I believe it's either Europa or Encephalus, right? There are sheets of ice on that planet that are, several centimeters, that are just very thick, like hundreds of feet in thickness. Although what's been noticed by dating of those ice sheets is that relatively they're actually fairly young. They're only several million years old. But part of that is we know that ice melts because of the fact that Jupiter has a lot of moons on it. And Jupiter, being as large of a planet as it does, turns out to actually have such a strong gravitational force that some of the energy from that gravitational attraction actually causes the melting of ice on that planet, which is one of the reasons that liquid water can form on the surface of Europa and Encephalus as planets. So the Goldilocks argument, the argument of liquid water can only exist in certain, only so far away or so close to the sun. Normally, yes, but there are exceptions to that. There's other ways that liquid water or other liquid substances can form, and in fact have been known to form. Like in the instance I just cited with the case of Jupiter's moons.
And Earth's distance from the sun varies like thousands of miles, like during its whole
Yeah, it does.
rotation. It's even if we move a foot closer to the sun, it doesn't change anything. Like, it is very minuscule.
Yeah, the Goldilocks parameter is far more flexible than you think it is.
Because I had to look this up, but I feel like it's like tens of thousands of miles, like the difference when we're like the farthest away and the closest, like from the sun.
Yeah, I think it's like the error is like the range of error that's tolerable is like thousands of miles.
Will somebody tell me what kind of a fact tuning is?
I don't know. I'm unconvinced of it.
I don't know what tuning is.
Well, I've put the link in the side chat if you guys want to read it, so you can, or you can Google about the topic.
I mean, I can ask a lot of physicists, and
You don't think we read books?
Yeah, you can do that also. Immutable. You can ask if you have your physicist friends, ask about it.
I can ask other physicists in the field about if they think fine tuning exists, and I can get the opposite answer.
Okay, do that.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like I can ask an artist what they think about beauty and get.
Wait, isn't it something like if I told you that the Earth had one less gallon of water, would that change? Would that have a significant impact on the way life is now?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? What about the whole swimming pool's worth of water? No, not that. No impact, right? What if we were to remove, all these other things like a certain percentage of iron or a certain percentage of, I don't know, cobalt? Seems like even those kinds of changes wouldn't really change the way life is as right now, right? So I think what they're saying is something like there are some things the way the physical world is, right? Such that if you were to change in a minuscule way, you would see great changes, even to the extent that there'd be no life. I think that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the thing is with fine tuning, right? Is there's a certain aspect in which it's true. Like if you remove all the iron from the earth, right? If you just excavate all of it, yeah, life's probably going to go extinct because there's certain processes that depend on iron being fixated for blood to to fixate oxygen in the bloodstream and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. But it's kind of like the asking of the question of how many trees are in a forest, right? What's the fine line between how much you can remove to prevent a system from collapsing and when you can't.
Right, and all they're saying is that if the forest depends on, let's say, one atom of iron, that they want to say that motivates an inference. Now, I don't agree, right, that it warrants any kind of inference to an intelligence, but they are describing something that could potentially be found as as awesome or something like that. But
yeah,
I mean, once again, it's coming from somewhere. It's not like we don't know we shouldn't think that we have no idea what they're talking about.
No, the thing is, they're talking about it in such vague terms, right? Where it could mean almost anything that you desire it to mean,
Wow,
right?
I mean, then
There-
that doesn't seem charitable.
No, the thing is, like, if you want to talk about, for instance, fine tuning in a specific kind of way, what you're talking about is the relationship that something has to something else, and how changing one of those things influences and how changing one of those things
But they're
influences.
talking about a degree, obviously, right?
Well, sure. I mean,
Okay, and then they're saying that somehow so it's those minuscule changes could make it such that there's no life, or life would be very different, or there wouldn't be human beings. I don't know but I think you could grant that, right? I think that's what they're talking about. I don't think we should say we don't know what they're talking about, or that what they're saying is some kind of like unfounded intuition.
I think my point is that I need it to be more quantitative than simply a conceptual thought experiment,
Wait,
right?
no, it's not. They do provide. They would say something like, they're saying something like, if you take let's use your forest analogy, one less tree, the whole forest would collapse, right? Now that might be, let's say it's a large forest in the North Americas. That would be pretty amazing. That it's that delicate, right?
Right.
You and I would agree that it's delicate in that way, right? So that's all they're saying, that the universe is delicate with respect to certain physical facts, right?
Right.
And that's okay to think, right? But where I'm going to dispute is, how does that license an intentional explanation? That's once again, the fundamental question, right? You can grant that the universe is delicate in this kind of way, that's what they mean, fine-tuned. But so, how does that get us to, therefore, a mind?
Right. I think my point is that, like, the general notion of fine tuning, right, it's not something that you can immediately dismiss because, like you said, right, if you keep removing trees from a forest, eventually you're not going to have a forest. That's perfectly rational. But the point more so is that what is it? What is there in the difference between one tree that causes it not to be a forest and 1,000 trees, for instance, which we definitely would agree constitutes a forest?
I'm not really following.
There seems to be a difference between, like, this whole thing about the one and the many. But I'm gonna go eat dinner real quick.
Silence.
So, Otangelo, I have a
Yes.
question. So, given that the Earth, when it's farthest from the sun, is about 91 million miles away, that's like during like oh no, that's when it's closest. That's like during January, and the farthest is in July, which is about 94 million miles. There's significant like there can be changes of degrees of how far we are from a range from 94 million to 91 million, and we
Yeah.
would still be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So,
how are we fine tuned in our current position, even though
well,
there's such a large?
if it is not in in that range, then you are either too far and then it's too cold, or too close to the sun and then it's too hot. So it is in a range where the temperatures here are life permitting.
But I would think if a strong argument for fine tuning would be like if we went like 100 miles farther, we would all freeze to death. But if we went 100 miles closer, we would all burn to death. I think that would be a better argument. But the fact of the matter is that there's a difference of 3 million miles when you're closest and farthest. So,
Okay, maybe in regards of that, but if you see other constants, like the cosmological constant is finely tuned in 1 to 10 to the 123rd power, we cannot even imagine how exact, or how extremely finely tuned that is. I mean, there are 10 to the atoms in the universe. So there are different ranges of fine tuning. But if you put them all together, there are literally hundreds of fine tuned constants which must be just right in order to permit life on Earth.
That seems kind of unfalsifiable then.
No,
Yeah,
that is, I can put the link here. I mean, the Codata
But, like-
lists 360 different fine-tuned constants, which must be right.
Otangelo, can you prove that we cannot change any of these constants, like any of them at all? And like this is currently right now this is the best spot. Like I would need to see a paper saying like, oh, if we change this like I don't know, the distance from electrons to protons or something, like if that changes just a little bit, nothing would exist. Like I would need
Okay,
some
I can
papers
give
about
you
that.
again the quote from Paul Davies. He says, "There is not a shred of evidence that the universe is logically necessary. Indeed, as a theoretical physicist, I find it rather easy to imagine alternative universes that are logically consistent, therefore equal contenders of reality. The appearance of design in physics and cosmology, in God and design, the teleological argument of modern science, that's the source." So he's saying basically these constants can be different. There is another paper which says this paper reviews the current constraints of these quantities. The discussion starts with an assessment of the parameters that are allowed to vary. So in the title already they say they can vary. So
Right, but like if they vary, like we only have a sample size of one in terms of life, which is the Earth. That seems kind of a faulty generalization to say that we have only one sample. And sure, you can vary the constants, but that doesn't necessarily prove that this one sample could not exist out there, since we only have one sample.
okay, Paul Davies here, Information and the Nature of Reality. Given that the universe could be otherwise in vastly many different ways, what is it that determines the way the universe actually is? So here he says it straight away. The universe can be different. And if it would be different, it would not be life permitting, but it is life permitting, and that demands an explanation.
Right. I'm not arguing about that it can vary. I'm saying, why does it necessarily follow that if it varies, then life couldn't exist if we only have a sample size of one life permitting planet?
Well, as said, for example, they have calculated that if the expansion rate of the Big Bang would be different, if the cosmological constant would be different, then the universe would either collapse back to itself, or it would expand too rapidly, and there would be no stars and no planets and no life.
But do you have do you have like a number value of like how big of a difference can that be?
Well,
Because
not
I
in my
don't think they could
mind.
say.
I mean, you have to read the relevant science information in order to
I mean, that information you
assess
just gave me
that,
was from a general quote, I think by Hawkins or some physicist.
It was by Davis, but I can give you various. I have a link here about just that question: is the universe fine-tuned due to physical necessity? So you can look it up. I put it here in the private chat and also in the public chat. So it's not. The universe can definitely be different, but it is precisely tuned in order to permit life, and that demands an explanation.
How do you know that? We only have a sample size of one, though.
Access the links which I'm giving.
Okay.
Links aren't arguments.
So if it's okay with you, Speed.
Yeah, I just quoted Speed.
Hold, Otangelo, you just interrupted Andrew.
Okay.
Okay, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, if it's okay with you, Speed, if I may ask Otangelo my original question.
Yes, because I think we beat fine-tuning to death. So.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay, go ahead. Ask.
So I don't know if you've I like to call this question the bristle question, basically, or that's what I call it. So there's, I guess, a little background question first. So you, Otangelo, would you say that genetic entropy exists, or something similar?
Yes.
Okay. So you would say that mutations always destroy information. Is that correct?
There can be rare cases where they add some function. I mean, up to 2 mutations can do something. Yes, it's possible.
Okay. But you would say in general mutations are information destroying, yes?
In the majority, yes.
Okay. All right. So there is one example of a mutation in the species or genus Drosophila. When comparing the DNA differences between D. santamea and Drosophila jacoba, they found that there is a gene known as SCOOT that controls bristle number across different parts of the adult body, and that a mutation in one pleiotropic enhancer, meaning it affects multiple traits. This mutation in the enhancer changed a T2EG in D. santamea, and this caused a decrease in the number of bristles in an area known as the hypandrium near the genitalia, and an increase in the number of bristles along the forelegs and what are called sex combs, which males use to court the females, basically. So I guess the question I want to ask you is, based on this information or this example, what specific part of this mutation or this change would count as a loss of information?
I don't know. I would have to read the paper and study it. So
Okay.
Really? Yeah, you're not going to speculate on it at all?
well, I don't understand the issue in question. So how can I answer?
Well, we have a go ahead.
Well, like you said that mutations typically destroy information, correct?
I think mostly yes, but as I said, there might be cases where there are small increases or a change of function, which is maybe positive or which helps in regards of fitness.
He's talking about something very specific, and isn't the question whether this is an increase or a decrease?
Yeah, I'm not talking about fitness per se. I'm talking about information, trying to quantify information.
Yeah, I would have to read the paper and study it.
Okay, sure.
But it doesn't make any difference. It's pretty simple to understand. The question is, does the less bristles on one and more on the other, does this mean, what does this mean about information? Is it additional information, new information, or
right? Like this
is
is
a simple question.
Right, like the first part of the question is about first, what is, because you have to say some part of it is a loss of information according to your model, right? And then the second part of the question would be, is it a net loss or a net gain, depending on how big that original loss is?
Yeah.
Sometimes a loss can provide an advantage.
I'm not talking about that. We're talking about information.
Right.
Loss or gain of information.
Right. We're not talking about any fitness advantages. We're talking about what specifically is the information that.
Yeah, I am confused. I don't understand what you're saying, so I cannot answer. I cannot answer your question.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Tired. Yeah. I think we're all
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
Anyway. Info. Okay, I'm trying to find that Drosophila paper again. Who the hell was that? Was that Zoo? Zhao?
The Nagy paper?
Oh, Nagy. Okay, Nagy 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell?
Sorry that I keep bringing that example up, Speed. I just find it really fascinating.
I know, but I have to figure out how to link the damn thing. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I guess I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Correlated evolution of two copulatory organs via single cis-regulatory nucleotide change.
Yeah, I think that might be the original paper.
You know what I should make you do? Every time you bring it up, I should make you put a link in the chat. That's what I should do.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like how like is there a way to convert a PDF to a link, basically?
No, yeah, that's the problem. You have to actually take the title and go out and look it up on Google, and then get a link to the paper, and then you have to publish that. Rather than giving the paper away, because that would be basically a copyright infringement, I think. So but I'm in the process of doing this right now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I pulled up the paper. No, and God, I wish I had a little container where I had all of the things that I've currently. I guess I do, but it's just that I go to so many sites that I can never find it. But let me see. So where did Danny and Brenda and everybody go? Everybody left.
I think they left.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here. I'm gonna go eat my dip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting kind of tired.
I have the link now, so that is the process for doing it. But we should put this link in like a notepad somewhere because we're going to be using it a lot.
Yeah, put it somewhere safe.
Anyway, Otangelo, the paper is out there in the chat. So, but anyway, I think we should call it for today. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I look it up.
Anyway, thank you, Otangelo. That was
thanks, Otangelo.
That was pleasant. We got along with a minimum of stepping on each other, but that's pretty cool. And thanks everybody, including you guys who aren't here anymore, for having a wonderful, engaging conversation for the last 3 hours. So, so we're going to end the broadcast, okay?
Yep.
Okay, guys. Goodbye. See you next time.
And Jerry and Icarus and all of you in chat, Top Dog, thank you all. Okay.